Well, let's go. What's up, guys? Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Friday live stream today. Let me open this because I'm gonna need something real quick. Today, we're gonna be working through a pipeline. We're gonna be doing a character. I was looking at some concepts yesterday, and I want to use this opportunity to sort of like continue talking about one of our good videos from this week, which was the 5 layers. I called them the 5 layers of art that you can like extract from any sort of like image and use them, of course, to create something very, very cool. So give me just 1 second right here while I set everything up. No, we're gonna have the anatomy course, Skyla. We're definitely gonna have the anatomy course. But again, I need to finish the environment course first, which I've been working on. Looking good. It's looking good. I'm definitely a little bit behind because of the leg stuff, but yeah. What 3D printer would you recommend if it's the first one you're buying for resin printing? Oh, that's a great question, Mango. Let me give you one of my recommendations. Where are we? Here, there we go. Cool. Yeah, I've been on Udemy for a long time, honey buns. When I was at Nextude, most of the stuff that Nextude or that I produced for Nextude was uploaded to Udemy, so that was where a lot of people found me. But now that we're doing this as a standalone project, it's a lot easier for us to do it on our site. We also get more control. For instance, Udemy, they have this very weird thing where they only allow you to create 3 coupons per month. So if you want to like do giveaways or things like that, you can only do 3 types of giveaways, which was very restrictive, and I didn't like it. Nowadays, it's a lot easier. No, we're not ready for the sneak peek, Andy. We're not ready there, but soon. So right now, Mango, if you want to get a resin 3D printer, I would probably recommend the Elegoo Mars. So this one right here, the Mars 4, as you can see, the price is really good. It's 217 bucks. So I would say, I mean, it's of course a good chunk of money. It's not a change, right? But it's a good one. It will give you a good result. If you want to wait a little bit more, you can wait for this, like the Mars 5, which is the new model, and it's gonna look quite nice as well. But yeah, this is probably the one that I would recommend. Like when I first started, I started with the Mars 1. So this was a little bit of history. This was the first 3D printer that I got. Nowadays, I don't think you can get it. You might be able to get it somewhere, but it's discontinued, right? So this was the original model, and it would take forever to print things in this one. It was still fast, but it would take really a long time because it was using a different type of screen, and it would just like take a while to do it. Nowadays, most screens on the new release models, they are mono screens, meaning that they only have one color. It's kind of like a black and white screen, and that makes them way faster. There we go. So it's a 4K mono LCD. This one's back in the day were like a 1920 by 1080 RGB screens, so it would take a long time to get a good print, and the detail was not as sharp. So this one right here, really good. If you want, go and check on the channel. I have a video where I reviewed the Mars 4. No, not the Mars 4, the Saturn 3. I'm pretty sure it's the Saturn 3. It's the one that they sent us at the beginning of the year, and I review it, and there's a link there where you can get some information. Is there any shortcut to add an object to a certain group in the outliner in Maya rather than dragging it and through all the other objects? Yes, of course. If you grab the object and then grab the object that you want to parent it to and just hit P, it will parent to the group. So just click on the object and then shift and click on the parent and hit P. That neon, that's how you parent something directly on the viewport. And what's going to happen on the outliner is it's just going to jump and be parented as a child to the one that you selected. Okay, cool. Well, so here we go, guys. I was looking yesterday. I was a little bit of a creative block, and David recommended, hey, let's do a weapon. And I started looking for weapon concept arts, and I just wasn't really feeling it. And then I saw this concept right here. I actually saw a different concept, but I started looking, and I found this one. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I started learning about this. I did a little bit of research. This was done by an artist called Alexei Kovalenko. Pretty sure he's Russian or something like that. Kovalenko sounds very Eastern European. Serbia, there you go. So he's from Serbia. Really talented dude. Love his stuff. He's it appears he's been working on the Remnant game. Have not played the Remnant game, but I've seen the concept, and look at this beautiful designs. Like super, super good. And this is what I want to start talking about today, guys. When you're looking for a concept, when you pick your concept, and I have a video about how to pick a concept, but we're gonna go a little bit more deep today. When you pick a concept, it's very, very important that you pick right, okay? I would say that at least like 30 or 40% of the success of your piece for your portfolio or for your personal project or whatever will depend on the piece you pick. Because when you pick something that's very complex, very difficult, very abstract, it becomes more and more complicated. For instance, this one right here. This is a very cool concept. I love it. It's very, very nice. But I would not recommend a beginner level student to start working on something like this because the character is in the pose. A lot of the body is obscure, so you're gonna have to figure a lot of stuff out. There's a lot of like complex elements such as cloth, engravings, metal bits, anatomy. So this would qualify, I would say, as a complicated concept to start with. So it's very, very, very important that you should take your time. I think yesterday it took me like an hour to find like the concept that I was looking for, and it was kind of hidden. It was right here. This is the first concept that I saw, which was cool. And then I started looking for more and more, and I found this one right here. So I didn't play this game. I'm not sure if you guys played it. It's a little bit of an old game, 2015. It's called Chronos. And there's this like goblin characters right here. And as you can see, they get like this very, very cool armor pieces, like rock armor pieces. So this one was very, very nice as well. This is like a smith. I love the helmet in this one. It's very, very nice. And then I found this one, which is of course your typical tank, right? Like it's the heavy dude. So we're gonna be doing this. Do you have any tutorials on how to rig X-Gen character? No, not how to rig it. Normally X-Gen character, X-Gen hair is not rigged with bones, because you're gonna be adding simulation. Like otherwise, why would you have like super complex hair if you don't want it to move naturally? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna rig your character normally, and then you're gonna extract the scalps of that character, and then you're gonna build the X-Gen like hair there, and then you're gonna animate the character without the hair, and then you're gonna do the animations of the hair, and you're gonna bake them in. It's a little bit complex. That's why there's a whole like specific role for people who are doing hairs, because it takes a while to do that. Why do you plan on making an outsourced studio? We have a small studio. I have a small studio here in Mexico with a partner of mine, and we produce VR and AR content. So we're not really an outsourced studio, but we do have like a studio. Like we offer studio things as well. Is it okay to go for concepts of other people for your own portfolio? Shouldn't I try to do my own models with a lot of reference? Oh, Leso, that's a great question. So let me just get the music down. I feel like it's a little bit high. What the hell is the music? Here. So there we go. When I was at school, there were always two like thought to how do they say this in English? I always forget. It's not thought process. It was like two different like sides to the same story. Is should you do original stuff or should you follow concepts? And what they usually tell you is if you want to be a designer, like if you want to have that skill in your sort of like arsenal, if you want to be someone who can not only like execute a specific concept but also come up with his own ideas, then yes, designing your own stuff is really, really important, which is, for instance, what I do with most of the courses. The environment course that I'm recording right now, it's my own design. The superhero course, my own design. The dwarf character, my own design. So most of the, yes, school of thoughts, there you go. So there's those two like school of thoughts. So that's a skill that's very, very like I would say very cool, very important. But at the same time, the industry in general, especially if you want to work in a AAA studio or in a film studio or something like that, they're not going to hire you as easily if you're just if you're like a 3D artist slash designer, because they want 3D artists just to do the work. They don't really want 3D artists to think about the work, because they usually have a huge department of concept people, design people, storyboard artists, and all of these guys that already came up with the idea. So it's not that they don't care about your input, it's just that they already have someone else doing that job, right? So for those cases, it's better that you really know how to like perfectly match someone else's concept. And that's why like following a concept like this one is very, very important, because it allows you to show that you can follow instructions, right? So it's kind of like those two sort of like elements. For me, as a small like indie creator, I would definitely say that it has been more helpful to learn how to do it on my own and learn how to design on my own as well. But again, if you want to go for like big studios, big productions, they usually want you to be very specialized in what you do. Okay? Cool. So, this is the character that I picked. Again, it's sort of like a goblin thing that has a bunch of armor pieces. And what I love about this concept is that it's so good. It's just a good concept. Why is this a good concept? It's unique. I haven't seen stuff like this in a while, so it's very, very unique. It's simple, meaning that even though it has a bunch of things, right? It has cloth, it has leather, it has stone, and it has skin, it has anatomy. It's still relatively simple in terms of the elements that it has. But it has one of the main things that I talked about on this week's videos, on the 5 layers of elements, which is silhouette. Look at how beautiful the silhouette is. Even though it's a very like straight silhouette, it's just like a good silhouette, like a very unique, very identifiable silhouette. So even if we were to turn off the lights and just see like the pure silhouette of the character, which we can do by doing this, just all of this changes in angles and stuff, it's very, very good. That's a really, really good like surface detail. Now, another thing that I really like is the contrast. We have a very hard surfacey effect right here, and then we have organic stuff over here with the hands and the arms and the legs. So it's not just like a full knight in armor. It's just very, very cool. Yes, he has thin legs, not super thin though. Like I would expect them to be a little bit on the big side right here, and we're gonna talk about the anatomy in just a second. And then yes, we have a big torso. So that's one thing that I noticed, and we definitely don't have the traditional proportions that we normally have with a human, like the 7 heads. This is a shorter character. But we still need to find a way to make this riggable, right? To make this so that we can use it inside of a game. So all of these things are the things that I'm seeing right now on this concept, even though I'm not drawing all of them. And that's what I talk about in the video from this week, like how to see those elements, those things, so that we have an easier time like generating the concept that we want. Now, the first thing I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to do a quick decision making. So like I'm going to build my plan on how I'm going to tackle this character right here, okay? So when I look at this, the first thing I see is, okay, we need anatomy. I need to create a character, I need to create the anatomy, and I know that if I create the anatomy, everything else is going to fall into place. The axe, super simple. I think I could do the axe in like maybe 20-30 minutes. As you can see right here, it's a 1, 2, 3. There's other 3 on the other side, so this is probably like an 8-sided, cylinder that has a couple of extrusions all the way over here. Actually, we can do it in like 5 minutes. We'll probably do this first. So it's a very, very simple axe. The complex part of this axe is this part right here, where it has a couple of more like intricate details and stuff like that. The blade there is again fairly simple. So I know that this axis is not something that's going to be complicated for me. What's going to be complicated? This thing right here. And not because it's going to be super complicated, but just because it has more stuff that we need to take into account. But again, it's going to be way, way easier if I have a base anatomy. So that's what I'm going to start with. I'm going to start with the anatomy of the character. And to do that, of course, I'm going to open PureRef. And we're going to go here. Max Red says, hi Abe, what's up? I already finished your ZBrush and Painter course. I love them. I'm in the way to attend the Think Tank course. Do you think that it deserves, or it's only a repetition of topics? No, it definitely deserves it. And this is something that I recommend, guys. Like, I know that I have produced a lot of content throughout the years, but you can always learn more and more stuff from other people as well. Like, that's how you grow as an artist. You gather information and you gather like knowledge from a bunch of different sources, and then you start creating your own stuff, right? So if you can go and afford to go to Think Tank, good stuff. Like I'm sure you're gonna learn a lot of things that you've already learned on the courses, but you're also gonna learn different perspective, different tools, different things like that. So yeah, it's definitely advisable. Okay, so let's do a very basic, quick sort of like anatomy blocking right here. And I'm gonna be working a little bit faster than usual. I'm not gonna explain every single tool. I'm just gonna I want to focus a little bit more on the process. So here I'm starting with a very basic construction of the torso, and as I see there on the reference, the torso is a wide torso. We're gonna go for a wide torso right there. Then with my clay buildup, I'm just gonna start building a little bit of the hips. So I'm just gonna add some volume here on the lower part. There we go. The little butt right there on the back. And remember that when we're doing a body, like a character's body, one thing that's very important is what we call the gesture, which is the like intrinsic dynamic movement of the character itself, right? So I would expect this character to have a little bit of gesture, so a little bit of curvature, so like pushing the chest outward, and that's the stuff that that you want to go for. Clay buildup, and I'm gonna add a little bit of the neck right there. Trim dynamic to flatten it up. And then I like to mask that area, push it up. We're in Dynamesh, so it's very easy to just like Dynamesh, and create the shape of the head. Now, we really don't need to add detail to the head, right? Like, as you can see here, oh, this is off center. Let's just do a mirror on wealth. There we go. And turn on symmetry. So we really don't need the head. We don't even need the neck. We just need the main forms of where those things would be. So that's what I'm going for right here. Edward Tunnel, since I'm a think tank student, I really recommend the Ape courses and think tank courses complementary each other at this point to me. There you go. Yeah. And see, I've always like considered myself like that, because since we're not an official school yet, maybe in the future we'll do something like that. I'm not sure. It's not in the plans, but you never know what could happen. But I always consider myself so like the DLC guy. So you go to your school and then you take my courses as well, and you sort of like complement the information. A lot of people, what they do, especially here in Mexico, is they take my courses and then they go to another school, like in the US or Canada. And most of them have told me that that helps them quite a bit, because they're arriving to the school with a little bit more knowledge, right? So I remember when I went to Noman, this was back in 2013, they told me the more stuff you know coming in here, the more you're going to be able to get out of the school. And that was so true, because I remember, for instance, in my intro to Maya class, I already knew how to use Maya. I already knew about extrusion, UVs, a little bit of render, stuff like that. So I was able to ask more important questions, right? And I was able to get a little bit more out of that class. And there were peers of mine that was the first time that they were learning Maya, and they were just learning about move and rotate and scale. And I mean, props to them, because it's of course part of the process. Everyone has to go through that at one point in their career. But if you're going to be spending a lot of money, you might as well get or get there as prepared as possible, right? I used to have a school. You guys know that, right? Do we have any of my old students here? I used to have a small school here in my hometown. It was called Critical Hit, and it was good. Like we did well. We were the first 3D school here in the city. I founded it in 2016, a little bit earlier, like 2015, and we had a good run. We were a good school. We had multiple teachers. It was fun. I invested on. We had like 15 computers. It was a big like room, and we would do intro to Maya, character creation, ZBrush. Like it was again. I had fun. It was a really good experience. Unfortunately, the pandemic killed us. So at that point, I couldn't afford rent. I couldn't afford the loans, all that stuff. So I just had to sell everything. So I sold all of the computers. I sold all of the equipment, the chairs, everything, and just switched to online. And people who, at least here in the city, they've asked me, "Hey, do you plan to do it again?" It's like, no, probably not. Like a physical school is a lot of investment, and since we're a small city, like I don't see the city being like the best place. I would need to move to a different city. Thor's going to have a good fight here. Yeah, definitely. So here, I'm not worrying too much about anatomy or anything. I'm just worrying about like the main forms, like the main, yeah, shapes, forms, proportions of the character, because we're gonna be refining later on. Keep in mind that a character for a game, it's probably gonna take you a couple of days to do. It's not something that you do in 3 hours like we were trying to do here. We're definitely speed running this. But yeah, this is definitely something that Dor could be fighting. There we go. Oh, looks horrible there. Now, this is a big question. Like, how should like is T pose or B pose better than something else, right? And the answer is, again, it depends a lot on the type of project that you're working on. I personally prefer B pose or A pose, which is where the arms are slightly down, like what I have right here, because it looks a little bit more natural in my head. But if you're doing very cartoony things like Mario Brothers or like some Smash Bros characters, T pose is actually a little bit better, like Disney stuff. T pose will usually be better because the tools that they have for those kind of rigs and things like that are just easier to manage. But for realistic stuff or a little bit more realistic stuff, B pose is perfectly fine. Do you think a physical school is worth it in this day? No, it is worth to go to. Like, if you're a student and you're going to a physical school, it's definitely worth it. What I mean when I said that it was not worth it, it was for me as the school itself, because the amount of investment that you need to do for all of the equipment, all of the licenses, all of the, again, like even the furniture, like chairs, like you guys cannot imagine how like freaking expensive chairs are. Chairs, desks, cables, the internet management. Like I invested, I think I have the number. How much was it? I'm trying to convert it to dollars. I invested like $100K on that school back in the day. $100K. And I did make my investment back, which was good. But it was just like way too much of an expense. No, wait, $1K is way too much. No, yeah, is it? 100K is too much. It was not 100K. It was like 1,500. 1,500? That seems low. I'm not sure. It was not that much. It was a $250,000 pesos. 250,000 pesos fue lo que invertimos. I've just finished my associate degree now. Just got 1.5 years left for my bachelor's. Nice, nice. Awesome, dude. Okay, so here's where the interesting thing is gonna be, because he's got the short legs, right? Tie the hands for just a second. And even though he's got a short body, we still need to consider all of the anatomy. So he's gonna have a belly, he's gonna have the groin area, he's gonna have the hips, so all of that, and then we're gonna have the legs, right? And this is where the knowledge anatomy really comes into play. So the more you know about anatomy, the easier this sort of like blocking stage is, because you understand where the main volumes are. That's what you can learn, of course, in our anatomy course. Now, this guy definitely has a very sort of like wide groin area right there. That one's going to be interesting. Very short feet. Very short feet. Something like that. There we go. There you go. 211 euros according to Google. Yeah, plus exchange rate and stuff like that. So that was the initial investment. So the basic things I needed for when I started. Again, computers, desks, chairs, cables, internet, rent, stuff like that. And then you start adding on top of it. You pay for the teachers that are going to be helping you, because I was not teaching all of the classes, of course. Utilities. It was a fun experience again. No, that seems low, Nat Tuesday. Check for Mexican pesos, because there's other types of pesos out there. Because that seems low. Is it easy to find a job abroad and move there, or study masters abroad? It depends. There will always be certain countries and certain studios that are looking for that kind of stuff. So for instance, if you don't have a family, like if you're not married, or if you're married but your wife or husband, they don't mind moving with you, it's good, because studios will be looking for talented people, and they want you to remain there. So they will be heavily invested in you, on having you long term, if they're gonna go through the whole process of helping you with immigration and things like that. There's quite a bit of work as a freelance. You just need to be, of course, good, and you need to find those clients. But there are opportunities out there. However, I've heard, for instance, in Canada, that there's been some issues with some of the tax things. So the tax breaks and things like that they had are sort of like disappearing I think in Quebec or in Montreal. And Canada has been a very big hub for like filmmaking for a couple of years. And if those things disappear, that's going to be complicated. And that's one of the things that people are really complaining about, because they're like, hey, I spend a lot of money and a lot of energy and a lot of my time and life moving everything to Canada, and now the jobs are going somewhere else. And people don't want to be hermits, or not hermits, nomads, right? Like digital nomads, they call them. People want to settle down and have a family and have a life and stuff like that. So we definitely live in tricky times. Tricky times. There you go, Nat Tuesday. That's a little bit closer. Yeah, that sounds more like it. So it was a good chunk of money. It's a good chunk of money. Okay, so there we go. We got a very basic shape here on the character. I do want to like clean it up a little bit more, because I feel like I definitely made a mess here with the anatomy. So let's just spend a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna move into Maya to start adding the armor. So like the blocking of the armor. I finished the Oni and I'm trying to rig it to create a pose and little animation. The Oni is going to be difficult to rig, Max Red, if you don't do retopology or if you don't do like subdivision level like process, because it's going to be very heavy. Like the Oni by design, I made it a very heavy like character because it was not meant to be like rigged. Like we need to go again through the full process. People have been asking us like, hey, you should do like a hand painted course for the Oni and do it hand painted style. We might do that again a little bit later. I'm always hesitant about releasing like second parts to courses because then people might feel like it's again like a DLC or like a microtransaction where they're not getting the full thing. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant there. But that one sounds like a good idea. Painting skin weights as is would be yeah. Painting skin weights of something as big or as bulky as the Oni or with that high geometry, it's definitely going to be difficult. However, as we do in the course, you can use Transpose Master to pose it. You might need to fix a couple of areas here and there to make sure that it works nice, but it is possible to generate the post. No, I have not seen the newest Alien film, but I've heard it's really good. Like I'm not a huge like Alien fan. Like I don't follow everything, but I've seen some of the movies, of course. So I'll ask my wife. Maybe she wants to go and see it. She's not a huge fan of terror, though. Sandra P, what's up? Hello. Yeah, he's got a super wide stance, so we definitely need to incorporate that into our design here. And he's quite bulky again on the top side. So, for instance, the trapezius muscle there, we really need to exaggerate. Again, I don't care about the detail right now. I just care about the silhouette and the forms, which is one of the layers that I talked about, because that's what we need. I don't even care about the face. Like the face can be whatever because it's gonna be covered by the whole like stone thing. And unless you're gonna have like thinking about game design, right? Like if the character in game is gonna take his helmet off at any time, then yes, you are gonna need to do the you're gonna have to do the face. Like you're gonna have to model something. But in this case, just having like a very basic sort of like idea of where the head would be is more than enough. I think I'm gonna push this a little bit more. There we go. I like that silhouette a little bit better. I go through Retopology UVs myself to learn something new. When I achieve a good result, I'll post in Discord. Yeah, go for it, man. So in the Discord, we have a couple of channels. There's the 3D Workshop channel, which is just like your final results. We got the Whips channel. We got the Help channel. Those are the channels you usually want to post to. The whole gears for games? No, not the whole character, Marco. No, that would be impossible. But we're gonna go and try to go for the HighPoly at least. No, like doing retopology and UVs and textures. No, that's gonna be a little bit difficult. But I think at least the HighPoly should be achievable. There we go. So what I'm doing here is I'm moving my camera so that it's a little bit closer to the camera that we have. And here's again where I'm consciously, unconsciously comparing things and looking at where the high points of the different like parts of the character are to make sure that we match the character as close as possible. Because for instance, you can see that the shoulders, he doesn't have massive shoulders. They're relatively thin arms compared to the rest of the character, but they do push out a little bit more. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more mass right there on the side. And I just want to make sure that it looks like right. Like are we matching the stance as someone was saying. One thing that I noticed is that the legs are sort of like rotated out. I'm gonna rotate the legs out a little bit. And I'm doing this quite a bit with just like a guesstimation, as they say. But this is because of experience, guys. Like if I was doing this as a student, I would probably be drawing like lines here, like red lines to check how big or how tall the character is, to make sure that all of my proportions and things like that were right. I've done this so many times that now I get again like a feel of how like big or small someone or something should be. So, and I need to do this fast, right? Because otherwise you get bored. You switch to another stream. What other streamers do you like to see? I don't see a lot of streamers, to be honest, but I do like chess streamers. I like chess myself. So I look at Gotham every now and then. Hikaru, of course. A little bit of Marble Snap sometimes. Oh, and Critical Role, of course. There we go. So here I'm just adding a little bit of... I've never get bored when you teach. That's awesome, man. Thank you. Solid Mango. Really appreciate it. There we go. So I think that's a good place right there. I'm just going to add like the thumb right here. Like the hand. So for hands, I just like to make them kind of like a box. Okay, just to get an idea of where things are going to be. Very gestural, very sort of graphic. Marco Plouffe, what does he do? Is he like a 3D artist as well? Marco Plouffe. Haven't heard of him. There we go. You play chess? That's kind of late. I haven't played in a while, but I do play, and my wife considers it to be a problem. I'm not like that good. I'm 1400, 1450 in Blitz, and 50-50 on Rapid. I don't play Bullet as much. Too chaotic. There we go. Oh, Chaos Mason. Yeah. I know Chaos Masons. Yeah, no, those guys are fucking awesome. Really, really good guys. I don't think that far. Like, one thing I learned about chess is that openings are definitely gonna like bring you quite high. At least at 1200, it should give you a good advantage if you know your opening and you know what to look for. I don't plan too much ahead. Like maybe 3 or 4 months. Like, okay, I'm gonna do that. He's gonna do this. It's yeah. Are you a collector? Do you collect action figures, cards? I used to collect magic cards back in the day. I used to collect comics, but nowadays, no, I don't collect anything. I have a little kid. She's 3 years old, so most of my income goes to things she needs. I've had enough toys throughout my life, so I don't need more. I do collect miniatures for like D&D, but I print them, so yeah. Do you recommend the sculpt this it depends. It depends on the what's the word? On how complex the shape of your object is. For this kind of stuff, no. So there you go. What was that? Oh, that was a little bit longer than I expected. 52 minutes? No, because we started... Okay, like 30 minutes. So 30 minutes for a quick base mesh here. Not too bad. I do think the arms are a little bit thin, so I'm just going to inflate them a little bit to make him a little bit bulkier. And as you can see, what the main thing I'm trying to capture in this like very basic like a blocking of the character is the gesture. Like I want to capture that thing that I see on the character where he looks very, very strong, right? Like wide stance, a strong character. That's what I want. Now, here's one thing that you can do. I'm going to mask out the arms. And one thing that I notice on the arms is that they're, of course, a little bit lower. And when he brings the arms lower, his fingers pretty much touch the knees. So if I move the arms down and the arms are not touching the knees, that means my proportions are off. How? Well, it could be that the legs are too long, or it could be that the arms are too short. So, yeah, one of those. So I think in this particular case, legs are a little bit too long. So I'm just going to go to the legs. Place the pivot point here and just make them a little bit smaller. Just a tad bit. It's not much, as you can see right there. It's not much. But these are like quick like deformations, even though you break the sculpt, are very good. So now as you can see, I bring the arms down, and if he was like bringing the fingers down, they will match with the character that you have right there. So definitely a little bit tinier, right? Like he gets a little bit tiny right there thanks to the whole thing, but it gives us a good idea. So let's save very quickly before anything bad happens. Yesterday I was about to have a heart attack because my graphics card was glitching. Like when you get like this sort of like rainbow colors all over the screen, and I was like, oh no, it's gonna die. And when your graphics cards dies, well, that's pretty much it, right? How are we gonna call this? What's the name of this thing? It had a name. Oh, it doesn't have a name here. Well, let's call it Chronos. That way it's gonna be easy to remember. So it's gonna be Chronos underscore CO that. But then I just downloaded a new driver and that's fixed it. So that one's good. Okay. So you start, okay, 18 minutes. So 18 minutes is not bad for like just a very basic base mesh. And now we can bring this into Maya and start blocking in some of the main like things that I see right here, like the belts and this like things, and get an idea of how he looks as a full character, as a full asset, right? Let's export this. has a good amount of polygons, so it's not going to be a big problem. Let's export and let's close ZBrush. We don't need ZBrush anymore because one thing that I'm going to do in Maya, and this is very important, is I am going to change to world scale. So we're going to go to the proper scale of how big this character should be. And as you can see, I think here on the pages, there was a, there we go. So this is our hero. I would expect him to be probably 175 meters. So 1.75, of course. And these are the characters. So they're a little bit shorter. I would say probably like 160. Does that sound good? I think 160 sounds good for this kinds of characters. So let's go here to Maya. I'm probably gonna go for water in just a couple of minutes, guys, because I'm running out and I'm gonna get thirsty from talking too much. Let's see. I've learned my lesson. I save every 10 seconds. Yeah. And Maya still has this freaking bug where it doesn't open. Oh, someone was asking about my keyboard. So I have a Razer Black Widow B3 mini hyperspeed. So it's a 16% size like keyboard. So it's missing the number pad. I don't use the number pad as much because on the mouse I have my numbers. I have a Corsair. I don't remember which one. It's the Corsair MMO mouse. So it has the buttons on the thumb. I use those. And then recently, as I mentioned, I got this like macro keyboard, and this is where I have some macros to control the stream and the recording and things like that. Oh, there you go. Why is this opening? It's weird. It's another little project we're working on. Yeah, that's from Mango there, from our mentorship. Okay, let's go over here. Okay, and let's bring Cronus. Okay, so someone was saying 145. Yeah, 145 sounds good as well. So this is what we have right now. It's actually not that far from what I was expecting. So I'm gonna create a cube. Now it's very small. So this cube, I'm gonna change the scaling Y to 145. That's how tall the character should actually be. I'm just gonna snap that to the wall right there, and now we're gonna grab this one. Yeah, I'm using the mouse right now. So I switch right now. I've switched from mouse or from tablet to mouse. Let's go right view. One thing you can do here is press D and then V and move the pivot point to the lowest point of your character, and then snap it to the ground. And that way, when you scale up or down, you're gonna scale from that point. So there we go. That's the character right there. Now I'm gonna center the pivot point again and just snap it to the center of the world. There we go. Cool. So that's our like real world proportion. This is how big the character is going to be. The problem is that it just seems tall, Lord Talon, because of the grid. So if you go here to the grid, to display grid, for characters, I like to change this to 100, 10, and 1. And that's gonna give you a more sort of like manageable like grid for like a real world scale character. Skyla, yes, I do mentorships, but I don't have. I'm trying to think about the schedule. I don't think I have a slot available. If you want, send me a message and I can check the calendar after the stream. But yeah, I do mentorships. How can you fix the size after ZBrush? Just like this, you just scale it. Why do you need to scale to the real world? That's an excellent question. Well, if we're going to bring this into Unreal Engine, for instance, it's going to be super tiny. And then if you try to rig it and do a lot of things, you're always going to have to like go back and scale it to the proper position. And you don't want that. So it's better to just have it in, what's the word? It's better just to have it like this. How would you do that portion measuring in Blender? It's almost the same thing, but inside of Blender, any cube or when you create an object, it's 1 meter. Okay? No, I don't have a Wacom tablet. I have this Huion tablet right here that they sent me earlier this year. It's a Huion Canvas 13. It's really good. I really want to get like the Pro one, like the big one. So here inside of Blender, if you have a cube, so for instance, mesh cube, this cube by default, when it's born, it has a size of 2 meters. So this is 1 meter inside of Blender. So if we bring in our object here, there we go. you're gonna see that the size is really big here inside of Blender. So I will need to change this so that he's a little bit over 1 meter. So probably around there, probably a little bit smaller. I would say right around there. And this is so that it works nicely here, Blender. The problem here, or the reason why they changed so much, like you might ask, well, why is it bigger in Blender than it is in Maya? Because when you export as an OBJ, it exports into something called like an agnostic like measurement. So ZBrush only says this thing is, I don't know, 10 units big or 10 units tall. And then when it gets into Maya, Maya is like, oh, 10 units, you mean centimeters. Boom, you got a 10 centimeter little figure. And then, what's the word? Blender is like, oh, meters. Boom, there you go. You got 10 meters right there. So they change it to their own sort of like measurements. And that's why it gets tricky to match them. And that's why it's important, for instance, here in Maya, to change it to the proper proportions so that we don't have that, that issue. Okay, I'm going to show you something. This is something that not a lot of people do, which is matching a perspective, or they don't know how to do it. It's not that difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new camera. So rendering, camera, panels, look through selected. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to bring in an image plane. And the image plane is going to be, of course, the... What's the word? It's going to be the image... Oh, no. That's not the one. That's the one from the environment course. What's the name of the image? I've shown the image before, the sneak peek. Alexei Kovalenko. Okay. So, camera 1, over here. Downloads by name. There we go. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the options of the image. And there's an option here that says depth. I'm going to add 1 0. Or even 1 more 0. There we go. So now the image is back there. Then we can change another thing here on the camera itself. It's called overscan. So object display. Display options. There we go. Overscan. Let's do 1.5. There we go. And now it's just a matter of matching this to the character. As close as possible. Of course, the arms are not going to be perfect, but at least the head should be there. And it's going to give us just a very basic idea of how this thing looks. There we go. So the image is going to be back there. If you want to see the image here, you need to go to your image and change the far clip planes so that you can actually see it. But to be honest, I don't like seeing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the image plane. And there's an option that says looking through camera only. And then I'm going to do panels, tear off copy. So I'm going to have this sort of like a little window floating over here. And I can go into perspective, and I can build with perspective and see how this thing matches. Now, this camera right here, very important, since I already have it matched, I'm just going to lock select it. So that way, we cannot move the camera. So what I see here is that he's got, like, of course, this big helmet. We're going to go poly modeling. I'm going to start with a cube. Let's build a cube right there. It definitely has to be at least as wide as his head. On the concept, it's not as wide, so that tells me that he maybe lost his head, so... Probably gonna have to make it a little bit smaller. We're gonna push it up, and this is how I'm using it. I'm using this screen to find like roughly where certain things are. So in this case, that's the height of the box head right there. And as for the depth, I would say it's probably right around there. Control E, and we push it down, and it goes pretty much all the way down to like the sternum. Right around there, but then of course it pushes forward. It's gonna push forward like around here. So yeah, I would say like roughly at the chin size. I might bring this down a little bit more, like here. And what I see is that there's a curvature. Let me bring the concept so you guys can see it as well. So there's this curvature right here, kind of like a slide, right? Which is in this area right here. How can we do that? Well, with a bevel, of course. If we just bevel that thing right there, we can add a couple of segments and a bigger fraction, and we're gonna add the shape. Do I care about the fact that this is generating a stupid amount of handguns? No, I don't, because I'm gonna do a Dynamesh later on, or HighPoly or something. So I don't need to do all of this. Let's see. Yeah, you can bring the image plane closer as well, like say Nation, of course. How do you decide which file type, like FEX? Usually FBX is what I would use, because that's like the more modern file. Technically, the most modern file nowadays is USD, but USD really works well with very big scenes with a lot of elements. For characters, I still use a lot of FBX. So yeah. It's very nice to see the AC process. What are you aiming for? 2 hours? Hopefully 3. Like, we got like until 1 p.m. here on my side to to see how far I can get this. Here I'm gonna use the new extrude function, the magical extrude thing, because I see a little bit of a change in silhouette here on the back. So again, I know I'm doing a lot of engons. That's fine. It's sort of like part of the process, I would say. Because I just want to get like the very basic shape. I still think this is a little bit on the thin side. There we go. When will your next course come? As soon as I can finish it, man. I got like really delayed due to the leg injury, but yeah, I'm working on it. Okay, it seems to be. Sorry. So as you can see, it also has a curvature back here. It seems. So I'm gonna grab that one right there. Another bevel. Couple of segments there. There we go. Seems to be a little bit higher. A little bit deeper. There we go. So that's again like the sort of like the basic shape right there. Has some bevels here on the bottom part, and I think on the front part as well. Kind of looks like it, so might as well just grab all of this guys right here and bevel. You can see that, like a little cut right there. And to get that specific bevel right there, of course, we're gonna grab all of this guys and just bevel. See if I can push the face a little bit more aggressively. And we grab this 3 guys and push them forward. So that's giving us just a very basic construction of the element. This is way too long, of course. Again, I'm comparing this. That's way too long. So that pretty much tells me that these guys are not as far down as this guys right here. They pretty much touch the back of the leg right there. I think this now became a little bit too short. So I'm just gonna scale them, bring them down a little bit. And I'm always looking at the proportions. I'm not always looking at how big or small certain things are, so that I can manage to get them as close as possible. Are you gonna leave the angons? And yes, I'm gonna leave the angons because eventually I'm just gonna dynamesh this whole thing, so I don't care about the angons. That's the thing. How do you snap to the ground? With X. With X, my friend. You press X, and that's gonna snap to grid. Okay. Yeah, I like this. I like this. Don't like that line right there or that one, so let's just delete that. Again, I don't care about angons. I'm gonna save though, because we are working on a very sort of like destructive process, and this is a recipe for problems. Okay, so now one of the things that's of course very important to this character is this sort of like big armor that's sitting on top of the chest, right? So I'm gonna grab the character, make it a live surface, go to quad draw. And it starts, again, roughly where the chest area is. It's right there, right there. And then it goes around the chest. That, and on the back, goes back pretty straight. And I have 1 and 2. And now that I have that, I'm just going to start creating an edge loop. Go. Go. That's the edge loop. And of course, whenever you're doing this sort of like edge loops, you usually will have a sort of like center line. Here it's gonna be a little bit tricky because we have the head, so I'm gonna have to sort of like ignore the head for just a second. There we go. And now we just fill in all of these elements. This is basic retopology. We cover this on the retopology course, of course. So there you go. Smooth things a little bit so that it follows the shape just a little bit better. I mean, it's going to be stone thing, so not too worried about, but I just want to be as form-fitting as possible. And I'm looking at the angles. So for instance, this angle right here is very, very straight as it goes back. And then we have this plane right here, which is going to be this one. And then we have the other plane here at the center. There we go. Over on the front, very straight as well. It has a little bit of a curvature, if you can see that. So thankfully, we do have a couple of extra points there that we can use to generate that curvature. Right, so it kind of like goes forward right there. There we go. Johnny Valdez, is anyone else having issues with the stream? I have to refresh pages every 5 minutes. Everything's good over here, Johnny. So I'm not sure what issue there could be. Control E, we're gonna extrude this forward. There we go. And now, front view, we grab all of the vertices and snap them to the center. This is gonna be our sort of like stone base. Merge to center over here, merge to center over here. And here, if you want, you can start being a little bit more clean in certain areas. But the most important thing, to be honest, is this line that we created here, which is this border. Because now, what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to extrude this out to create the actual shape. I'm going to give it a little bit of offset. Because you can see there's a little bit of a ramp going in. So that's important. Maybe a little bit more. Now, I see that this thing, it pushes a little bit further down. Kind of like a curved shape as well. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more. Not too much around there. Cool. Now I'm going to grab these inner faces, delete them. Select them manually. Delete those faces, grab this centerpiece. And snap there to the center. Mirror, of course. Gonna be X. World. Negative. There we go. And that's our very basic sort of like stone block right now. Looks like shit. But it's just the basic like base mesh that we're gonna be using. Now we need to start doing this. Spot Designs, welcome my friend. Welcome to the stream. Any updates? That's the one I'm working on, Krishna. It's the environment for game scores, and that's the one I'm working on. Again, I'm a little bit behind. Well, not a little bit. I'm quite a bit behind because of the leg incident. But I'm trying to get it as soon as possible. Try to get it out. Now, this thing I can polish inside of ZBrush a little bit more. So again, I'm not too worried about it. Probably gonna be doing that. But I just want to get the idea. So, for instance, here, what I immediately notice is that the depth of this thing is not there yet. Like, this should be a little bit bigger. So I'm gonna grab all of the faces on the inside here. I'm gonna have to do them manually as well. Actually, I'm trying to think. Yeah, let's just select it manually. Sometimes we try to come up with shortcuts and it's just easier to do it traditionally. Go. Just make sure that I'm not selecting anything else. Cool. And what I need to do here is just Control E and give it a little bit, or in this case, just W. Just push them up a little bit more. And then this line, I'm just going to delete so that we can keep the same sort of like ramp. And that now looks like what I have right here. Cool. I'm definitely going to have to delete the head because otherwise this does not look like a concept. You have two options here. In my case, and again, just because we can't do it right now, I'll probably just go into face mode. Just grab the whole head right there and just delete. And that way, the concept is going to look a lot closer to what we're looking for. There we go. We are missing the eye line right there. That's a good job for a boolean, to be honest. So let me save real quick. And let's use a boolean here. Gonna be right around there. As you can see, it goes roughly to that point right there. And it does seem to taper in a little bit. So I'm just gonna make this a little bit smaller. I'm gonna do this, and that's 1. Oh, again, I'm gonna save a delay history before we do the boolean to give it the best chance of success. There we go, and we delete history. That's way too high, right? Like if we take a look at this, that's way too high. So I'm just gonna grab these vertices and move them down and place them where they're supposed to be. So this is the constant thing that you're doing when you're like thinking about a character or anything in reality. You're constantly like measuring and seeing how close or how far away are you from the concept piece. So I'm gonna position it like this and just guesstimate where things are. Yeah, it was way too high. At what age did I start 3D? I started very old, to be honest. I started when I was 18 years old. I was studying to be a doctor before becoming a 3D artist. I've mentioned that before. Okay, now this is a cool one. As you can see here, this shape is just a specific sort of like angle, right? And it follows up and it just goes there. So if I can capture that shape right there, which is fairly easy, that's gonna make my life so much easier. So this one's gonna be like right around there. I think that's a little bit on the big side of things. So let's go there. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bevel those borders, add more segments, and then there's this depth thing that I can change. See that? Boom. We got the shape. That's it. It's just about knowing what tools we're using to get a specific result. In this case, I think that's what we're going for. This does seem to be a little bit taller. So I'm just gonna push this a little bit more. I want to do that again. It's very simple. So the bevel tool has a bunch of different like what's the word? Has a bunch of different tools that you can use, and when you bevel something, you can add more segments, right, to make it rounder, but you can also change the depth. So you can keep it really flat if the depth is at 0, or you can push it all the way down so that it's negative, and that's what I did. It doesn't matter, Anthony, because I'm gonna go and do Dynamesh later on. That's the only reason why this doesn't matter in particular right now. However, if I was doing this for other types of processes, I will be a little bit more careful. So this one, as you can see, it's a little bit taller. Just gonna make this a little bit taller because you can see how it kind of like pushes up. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna Control E, push it in, push it up, make sure it's flat, start rotating a little bit, and then Control E, push it up, and flatten it. And again, here I'm looking at the distance. What's the distance between this thing to the helmet? Does that look like the distance that we have right here? I would say yes. What's the distance between this thing and this thing right here? I feel like this one feels a little bit too big, too long. I'm just gonna bring this in a little bit and maybe just push it up a little bit right there. Now this one, I definitely need to grab this outer border. I'm just gonna bevel it for now. I just want to like separate a little bit from the skin. Again, we're gonna fix this in ZBrush when we get there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So this one we are gonna mirror on the world X positive, and that's how we're gonna have that piece right there. And again, we take a look at the character and we ask ourselves, are we there? Are we close in regards to the silhouette? And I can see a couple of issues. I still think like this is too far forward, so should be a little bit closer. And I feel like the distance is too close to the helmet, because when we see the character like this, we should see a little bit of a space right there, which is the space that I'm looking for in that specific area. Maybe this guy's, push them a little bit in. Those are the elements. Now, it's not going to match all the time perfectly, because whoever drew the, whoever drew the character might not have, he might not have used every single like perspective perfect line and stuff like that. So yeah. I'm finding it very difficult to run texturing in Blender. What do you mean, Nadish? Like, Blender is not really texturing software, so if you want to learn texturing, Substance is a better thing to do. You then have to export things into Blender, of course, to connect everything, but that's relatively simple. I would say that's relatively simple. Okay, I think we're there. I like it. This does seem to be a little bit more elevated, though. Just a tad bit. Like, the angle right there, it's getting like a low angle. Something like that. Okay, cool. So that will be like a one section right there. Then we have like a belt, right? Like you can see here we have like a leather belt. So that leather belt is made out of multiple leather belts. You can see multiple straps right there. Right now, since this is just the blocking, I'm just gonna do a very basic cylinder. Actually, no, let's do a little bit different. Let's live surface this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create one belt here for the character. There we go. It's funny how it's hard to decide what age is late to start when it really doesn't matter. Yeah, it really doesn't matter, guys. Like, if you've ever gone into like the writers, like subreddits or forums and things like that, there's writers, like very famous writers, that started really old. There's very famous actors that started very old. There's very famous chefs that started very old. So there's a bunch of factors that will tell whether or not you're gonna be successful. Some of them you have control over, some of them you don't have control over, and the best thing you can do is try. That's like, if you have the option to try, I would say you're already one of the lucky ones, because there's a lot of people out there that don't have the chance to do so. Like they just need to support their families, or like how many people unfortunately live in a war-torn country where things are very very difficult, right? So if you have the chance to do so, I mean, just try it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do one belt right there. Duplicate it a bunch of times. As you can see, this belt is very slim. Like, it doesn't change the proportions too much for the character. So that's it. Now, one thing I like to do every now and then, I'm gonna do it right now because I think it's gonna look fine, is just add a very basic material breakdown. So I'm gonna go Maya and just add, for instance, to the main body, I'm gonna add a material, and it's gonna be this sort of like bluish tone that the character has. Probably a little bit darker, to be honest. There we go. And then all of the stone blocks, same stuff. So let's sample. So like beige color, there we go. Same thing for the belts. And the cool thing about this method is that you're already going to start visualizing things and realizing whether or not you're close to the concept, right? So even though we're not texturing, even though we don't have UVs, even though we haven't even finished the, what's the word, the modeling process, we are already seeing how the character is looking in terms of, like, again, silhouette and elements like that. This is where silhouette is very important. So number 7 here inside of Maya to turn off the lights, and you're going to be able to see the silhouettes. Not That Guy says, I really want to learn how to create game characters, but I don't have access to ZBrush. Is it possible to follow your character course within Blender? Yes, it is possible. However, there will be some tools that won't translate like one-to-one. But if you, like, one of the things that I am very proud of when I'm doing my courses is that I not only teach the tools, but I teach the principles. So you can take those principles and apply them anywhere else. Like the other day, when I first broke the leg, we were doing a Nomad sculpt. I was doing a sculpting Nomad in my iPad, and I was able to create a cool looking character because I know the forms, I know the shapes, I know silhouettes, I know anatomy. That's the kind of stuff that you're looking for when you're building your characters. And if you know that, if you can do that, then it's very, very easy to do. I was gonna start talking in Spanish. Yeah. Again, like, if you take the course, if you take the ZBrush course or the stylized character creation course or any of those, all of those principles can be applied to any sculpting software. The tools might not all be exactly the same, but you can do it. The head is thinner. I don't know. You mean this block right here? Maybe a little bit. I'm just going to make it a little bit thicker, just a tad bit. Not too much, because I don't want to lose again this very cool silhouette that we're achieving right there. Now, this is very common, and I've talked about this with Fox. He's a good friend of mine, a good concept artist. Very, very commonly, like, when you draw one character here and then you draw the backside here, some things might not match. Like, because when people are doing it, it's just like sometimes they don't pay too much attention because it's not needed. It's understandable. But yeah, sometimes things won't match. So here's where you, as a 3D artist, you need to make a decision and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go now with the bracers. I'm going to, again, do a similar thing right here. I'm going to do them as a single mesh. And again, I'm looking at where they started. As you can see, they started a little bit above the bicep, so right around there. They go around. Let's say they go around or on top of the elbow. So around there. There we go. Yeah, like that. Just making sure that the thickness is as close as possible. And once we're happy, we just extrude out a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. And if we don't want this thing to go inside when we smooth, one thing, very easy thing you can do is just bevel all the borders. Again, we're gonna dynamesh this thing, so I'm not too concerned about like this thing overlapping. But it's just a good rule of thumb. So now we grab this one, we mirror it to the other side, and we assign the Lambert 4 material so that we get an idea of, again, how this looks. Now we have this piece right here. This is a very interesting piece. This, again, border. So it's pretty much a cube, right? It's a big cube here in the center. It's, of course, rotated flat against the element, like right around there. That seems like a good size for the cube. And then this thing extrudes up. But it's very interesting because it kind of follows the shape of the deltoid, right? It's a straight here on the top. But then this border right here follows the curvature of the deltoid. Go. Let me just. Here I'm gonna go to the front view. It's probably gonna be easier to correct the curvature directly on the front view. That might mean that I need to add a little bit more curvature to the deltoid so that it fits with this thing a little bit nicer. Johnny says, you're very good answers. Why go to Maya and create the accessories here? It's just easier to block them inside of Maya, I think. To just get these general shapes. Now, again, I'm comparing things. Like, this is way too long, right? Like, it looks way, way too long compared to what we have right here. So I'm going to grab this one, go to object mode. Just get them a little bit closer to the size, which means it's weird. It kind of goes in an angle. See how from here it goes to this part right here? It's a little bit weird. So a little bit of a weird shape. And then over here it's very straight. So I'm going to obey, or I'm going to follow this one. What I'm seeing here is that this thing might be a little bit too, like I placed it a little bit too high or too low. So I'm just going to place it right over here. Misagawa, thanks for the follow, man. Welcome. So I'm just going to place it a little bit higher right there. I might need to do it again. To be honest, I'll just do it again. And this thing right here again has like wings. So we need to grab this face right here. Actually, I'm gonna grab this faces right here. Extrude them down. And then from this one, we extrude out, down. Yeah, this is more like it. And then to create that nice curvature right there, it's this two like edges. Yeah, that's a little bit like it. I would like to push the fraction a little bit more, but it's not letting me. So I might need to do this more manually. Gonna add another line right there. Now we bevel. Now. Okay. All of this will be fixed with sculpting instead of ZBrush. This is where complex shapes really really become a little bit, well, complicated, right? No, Marco, this is when you see, and this is one of the best advices I can give you guys. When you see something that looks very difficult and you want to quit because you're like, oh, I'm never going to be able to do something like that, don't. That's like the worst thing you can do. What you need to say is like, oh, that looks very cool. I can't wait until I can do something like that. So you need to change your mindset there. You need to have a more so like you need to understand that it took me like a lot of time to get here. And I'm not even like a top artist. Like I know my stuff. But there's always more things to learn. That's why I have the motto that we have right here, right? Like the always learning, always improving. Because I understand and I'm very conscious about the fact there's so much stuff to learn about. So yeah, when you see something that looks really complicated, that looks like or you don't know how to do it or how to approach it, don't worry too much about it. And instead ask questions. I'm here. Like you guys have the, or we have the big advantage nowadays in the world, or in this time in the world where we can actually like answer each other. So if you have questions, just let me know. It's like, why did you think of that shape? How did you do it that way? Like all of those questions are going to be helpful for you because they're going to allow you to understand the process, and by understanding the process, you might be able to have a better understanding of the whole pipeline. Yeah, Blender is not bad, guys. I've mentioned this before. I love Blender, but there are softwares that can't really compete with Blender, and ZBrush is one of those. Like ZBrush definitely beats Blender in terms of like the amount of polygons that you can handle. Okay, so that's getting there. I don't love it because it's not following the shape of the body as much as I would like it to. I need to clean some of this shapes right here, give it a little bit more curvature. So it's a weird piece, to be honest, because again, it looks a certain way on this side and then it looks another way on this side. Like on this side, it looks like it's actually poking out, and that to me makes a little bit more sense, to be honest. Have this thing poke out like that. So I'm probably gonna go with that. And again, this is where when you're in the studio or when you're working with a client or as a freelancer or whatever, one of the best advices I can give you is ask questions. Just ask your client, hey, I'm having issues with this particular thing right here. What do you recommend we do? Like, because I'm not sure what we're supposed to do. Sometimes you will have access to the concept artist and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, sorry, let me draw a couple more views and I can show you exactly what I was thinking of. And sometimes the art director is going to be like, oh, yeah, don't worry too much about it. We'll just leave it like that and we'll figure it out later. Or yeah, that's fine. We just need like the general shape. So it's important that that you ask questions. Otherwise, again, you're going to have issues trying to come up with the solutions. For instance, here, I'm going to snap this, and then with rotation, I'm just going to rotate it. So all of them are on the same plane, but they're going sort of like sideways. So it's an interesting like shape right there. Now if we go to the top view, I'm going to do a mirror on the not on bounding box, on object, because it's going to follow the pivot point, and this is going to be C negative, and hit apply. So that's going to be my stone piece right there. And again, it's a little bit weird, but that's how I see it. I do think I need to fill this area though. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this vertex in. There we go. Mouth shape isn't great, but I'll just take practice. Is there a spot for me to send the two sculpt from comparison in Discord? Yeah, on the Whips channel, man. That's the best place to share that kind of stuff. And then again, like here looks very like flat, and then over here looks very big. So it's a tricky one. Kind of wants to, because you can see like there's a little bit of a like an interconnection between these two things right here. So I'm not sure if I can do something like this, because then it starts becoming way too big, I would say. But whenever you have one of these questions, again, the best thing you can do is try to capture the essence of the piece. Like, try to think about what they were thinking when they were making something like this, and try to capture the essence. That's gonna usually give you the right answer. Yeah, exactly, Mustafa. Trying to do this inside of ZBrush would definitely take a little bit longer. So this thing right here seems to be a little bit wider. Just gonna grab. Now I'm gonna grab this center line. I'm gonna bevel it with a small fraction. And again, using the new tool, the new like modeling tool, I'm just gonna push this in a little bit to create that little groove that it has. Really didn't work on this face right here, so. Again, since I'm gonna dynamesh this, I just need a connection point here. Bridge things and triangulate everything later. Target weld. See, target weld was one of those tools that I didn't use as much. And I recently sort of like rediscovered it. I was like, oh yeah, that's quite handy. Okay, so we mirror on the X positive world. Here we go. Now we need to create the bandage again. So let's go back to this guy. And based on our little discovery here, it seems like this band is a little bit higher than we thought. It's gonna be more towards the upper part of the arm rather than closer to the elbow. We'll just add this stripe right here. There we go. A little bit of thickness. A small little bevel here, so that it holds the shape nicer. And we mirror again X positive world. And we assign the Lambert 4. There you go. Cool. So not bad. Now he's got cloths on. He's got like an under tunic. I like it, but that's one of those things that's gonna be a little bit difficult to do here inside of Maya. Like actually, it's not that bad. Let's do it real quick. Here's how we're gonna do that. First, I'm gonna grab all of the elements. I'm just gonna Control G. Let's say real quick, and I'm just gonna hide that group for now. And as you can see, he's got 2 layers of cloths. So he's got like a very basic tunic, kind of like a onesie, right? Like is this thing right here where he's got like the shirt and the pants in the same one, and then like a tabard on top. So let's do the one on the bottom first. And this is again where Retopology is super handy, because we just like draw the loops that we need. So I know that this thing is gonna be going in this direction, as you can see it, right? Like this border right there. So that's it. More like a romper, right? I think it's like a romper. I was watching your video, Abe, where you said if every artist had to have one piece on their portfolio, it would be an interior scene. Are there specific ones that work better than others? No, there's no specific ones. But like any room with a bunch of furniture is usually a good one, to be honest. Yeah, I can't think of a specific one that's like, oh, you need to do this. People usually do like abandon things to like. Here's my take. If you're gonna do an interior, you need to decide what kind of stuff you want to show off, right? So if you want to show off modeling skills, go for a sci-fi interior, because usually sci-fi interiors will have a lot of like complex shapes. If you want to show off texturing work, go for an abandoned like thing, because there's going to be a lot of texture work in both. If you want to go for storytelling, go for a room that has a very like specific personality, like a kid's room or like a magician's tower room, something like that, that again tells you a lot about whose room it belongs to. It's not just like any generic room. If you want to go for I don't know, medieval fantasy things, like if you like that kind of stuff, then do like a throne room or like a weapons meets what's the word, workshop, things like that. So you can always try to find a specific room or a specific interior environment depending on what you want. Oh my god, I'm doing a spiral. Why didn't you guys warn me? Here in Maya, I'm doing a freaking spiral. Spirals are very, very bad, guys. Like, they're not the end of the world, but they're not good either. So you gotta be very careful with spirals. So the problem here was that this one needs to connect up here. There we go. I was in the zone. Yeah, totally. I was just like going with it. GB3D, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream, dude. There we go. Okay, so the short, as you can see, goes a little bit above the knee. So right around there. And it does push the silhouette. So we do need to add a little bit of thickness to it, because it changes the silhouette. So it's important that we consider that here. Oh, by the way, guys, thanks to you, we're almost at the goal. The goal was to get to 25,000 subs here in YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, you can help us get us there. We're very, very close. We're like 800 subs away. And the goal is to get there by my birthday, which is at the end of the month. So I think we can get there. I believe in you guys. I learned a lot, and I just want to say watching your work is so inspiring. So thank you. You are welcome, my friend. And if you want to like talk or ask questions, go for it. I'm quite a lurker as well when I'm watching content. I don't comment or do things as much. Nowadays, since I started like creating my own YouTube channel, I try to do it more because I know how much it helps creators. But yeah, we're a cool community. So hopefully you feel welcome to add your input and ask questions and stuff. What tool should study to get into a BFX team after college? Houdini. Houdini, no questions asked. Houdini is the go-to tool for anything that's BFX related. So you're gonna have to know about Houdini, and ideally you're gonna have to know about what's the word? Nuke as well for compositing. So similar to how a character artist should know a little bit about rigging and animation to make better characters, a BFX artist should know a little bit about compositing to make better effects. So that they know how to properly prepare, export, and do everything, so that the guys who are doing the compositing have an easier time. Don't want to have a star there. I also don't want to have a very. We're gonna have to do a little bit of a trick here. There we go. Houdini, isn't it costly? I do think they have a educational license as well. I haven't tried it, to be honest, because that's not really my area of expertise. But I know that they have ways that you can get it a little bit cheaper. There has to be some sort of like educational license or something. There we go. So with this, we've created the sort of like a romper shape of the character right here. That's it. And then now you can see that there's a little bit of thickness. We can also see the thickness right there. So that's cool. So what I'm gonna do here is, well, let's just finish up over here. And this is mainly to have like a complete piece. You don't really need this because this is under the armor, right? But it's it can help. We learned a bit of Nuke at uni. Absolutely nightmare of. No, I like. Well, you hate nodes. I love nodes. So for me, it was cool. I did learn Nuke when I was at school as well, but it's been so long that I pretty much forgot. So, and that's not really the area that I normally work on. Cinema 4D, Robin, is a really good software for motion graphics. So if you're a graphic designer and you're doing a lot of like commercial work and things like that, it's really, really good. But for entertainment stuff, again, like video games, movies, and stuff like that, I don't think I've seen a lot of people use it, to be honest. Most people use other softwares. But it's a good software. Like if you are using Cinema 4D and ZBrush, then the Maxon 1 package that they offer, I think it's a good value. Because it's a lot of tools, like even the Red Giant, like particle system for After Effects and things like that. So it's very, very good again, but more for, I would say, motion graphics. Okay, we got our little romper right there. Let's give it some thickness. That's about right. And then what I'm gonna do over here on the bottom part is I'm gonna grab these faces. I'm gonna make them a little bit bigger, so they push the silhouette as well. Right, so they're pushing out and getting this sort of like cone shape right there. All of this is gonna eventually be, or we're gonna need to retopologize it. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I thought I was gonna move a little bit faster. I still think I'm moving quite fast, or faster than I would normally do. But this is something that's probably gonna take us a couple of sessions. Okay. Next week we have portfolio review, but I think the week after on my birthday stream, that's gonna be on August 30. I think it might be a good option to continue working on this one. Or maybe I'll do a video on YouTube. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to finish the HighPoly in just a session. There we go. Have to do this manually. I searched for it but couldn't find the stream. It should be there on the page, man. Give me 1 second and we'll look for it. Okay, cool. There we go. So we got our little romper right here. Let's bring everything else back. Now here, something very important, as you can see, is that now our belts are sort of like they went underneath it, right? So we need to, of course, change that. And it's mainly on this faces right here, so I'm just gonna push the faces in. All of this sort of like overlaps and things that we're seeing there, we're gonna change those once we get into ZBrush. I'm probably gonna grab the belts here and just give them a little bit more thickness. Same thing here. You can see how this goes very, very straight. That's the kind of stuff that you gotta be careful about. So I'm gonna start pushing some of this vertex so they're a lot straighter. That means that probably my leg is a little bit too bulky, too big. So I might need to... We can actually do it here. If you just grab this vertex and go into soft selection, make like a big soft selection here, and just push the leg in. That's gonna give me a good idea of how this is looking. What if I just have one project in my portfolio? I mean, if you only have one project and you want me to review it, I'll be happy to do so. You can definitely submit it and I'll be happy to do it. However, for like if you're applying to jobs and things like that, I will definitely recommend that you add a couple more pieces, because one is just like, unless you have like one that's like freaking amazing, like the David from Michelangelo, then the most probable thing that's going to happen is that they're just going to ignore your portfolio. Okay, so it's always good to have more pieces. Like I've seen a couple of portfolios along my lifetime that are like just one piece and it's freaking amazing, but more often than not, you're going to have, again, you're going to need more pieces. Okay, there we go. So that's the again, like the romper thing. We're gonna modify some of the anatomy, don't worry, but we get like a basic blocking there of the character. And now we are going to add the tabard. He's wearing like a tabard. Give me 1 second. Let me go full screen. So I want to check something, or not that full screen. This full screen. Yeah, let's do this. This is gonna be fun. Give me 1 second. we are gonna do the tabard inside of Marbles. Let's go. So we're using, someone asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, is like, how, like, do you do everything in ZBrush? Do you do everything in Maya? I do everything where I need to do everything. That's it. So if I need to do everything inside of, what's the word, inside of Maya, I'll do everything inside of Maya. If I need to jump from one to the other, I'll jump to another software. And I just made a mistake right here. I did a mirror on the HighPoly, and I didn't save. So let's hope Maya doesn't crash, because it, oh, okay, it didn't crash. Whew. That's good. Okay. So let's save. There we go. And let's export this. Sets to 42. Let's call this Chronos Scale. And let's go to Marbles. I just want to get into some film industry as a VFX artist, and I haven't started yet. Just give me a roadmap of how I should build my portfolio. Just chic. Oh, that's a tough one, man. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give you a good answer, because since I'm not in VFX, I don't really know like the best roadmap. But if you've just started, just download Houdini and start playing with like nodes. Try to create like small explosions, like smoke, magic things, like that sort of thing, and try to integrate that into a live plate footage. Like that should be your first sort of like project. Like go outside, record just like the mountains or like a valley or something, and then do like an explosion simulation inside of Houdini. Like learn how to do that, and then try to match those together. Like if you do that, I would say you will be in a good sort of like direction to go for the for the next part. Why I didn't do Tunic in Marbles? That's a great question. I just didn't thought of it. It's pretty much it. I could have, and maybe I should have, but you already have a base mesh, so no need to do it again. There we go. So let's just import this centimeters. Hit OK. Rohan, all things are going good, man. There we go. So we got the body right here. And I mean, this one's, it's very, very simple, guys. It's literally just a plane. So I'm just gonna create a rectangle right here. There we go. Rotate it. Place it here. And then we simulate. That's it. Let's move it a little bit. It's good. On the back view, it goes all the way to the back. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the simulation. Grab this border and just push it back a little bit more. Quite a bit more, I would say. Maybe not that much. That's it. And simulate. There we go. That's around the height that I'm looking for. And then on the front view, same thing. We're just gonna push it down. You guys don't know the software? Of course you know. This one is Marbles Designer. I even have a course about that one. It's this one right here. So this Plague Doctor, all of the pieces except for the mask were done inside of Marbles Designer. So the cowl, the tabard, the belts, the gloves, the hat, all of them. Well, except for the props as well. Those props were done in other softwares. But all of this is Marbles Designer. So it's really, really good, man. There you go. Andy recommends the course as well. Okay, now you guys want to see something cool? So I'm going to Control and K this one to freeze it. So now that thing is frozen. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add one belt. So I'm going to draw one sort of like belt shape right here. There we go. I'm going to grab this border, hit right click and unfold so that we get both of the sides. And then this one right here. Let me see if we got, like, since this is not a character, it might not have something called arrangement points. Oh, it does. Awesome. We're going to have one arrangement point right there. Oh, come on. There we go. Perfect. Just push it up a little bit more. And we're gonna sew. The way this works is pretty much like a real life. So you're gonna be like making patterns, sewing them and cutting them. So now if I simulate, as you can see, this thing is gonna go around the whole like body. So now what I can do is I can unfreeze this one. And then this belt right here, I'm gonna set the layer to layer 1, so it's on top of the tabard. And now there we go. See that? I can push this out. And now we have a belt that's giving us realistic folds and wrinkles around this thing right here. I don't love that fold right there, but it's actually making it look a little bit more unique, so I don't mind it. But I'm gonna see if I can like wiggle it out. There we go. What are you planning when you reach 30K? That's a good question, man. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. If my calculations are right, we might get to 30K like near Christmas or something like that. Maybe October, November. I think the big one's gonna be 50K. That one's gonna be like, I know you get the button, the YouTube button at 100K, but even 50K is gonna be freaking amazing. So we'll get there. Cool. So yeah, that's it. Now I just need to grab this garment right here, file, export. Let's export OBJ selected. Let's call this Chronos Tabard. Weld is fine. I mean, we don't have any cuts. Thin is fine. We don't need UVs. And yeah, perfect. Hello, bro. I'm also interested in character design. I think I know how to use ZBrush. I'm familiar with most tools, but I cannot take action. I don't know human anatomy, and I have no idea how to work. So I can never open a project and improve myself. You have years of experience. Can you give me some advice? Yeah, well, in your case, man, probably either the anatomy course right here or the ZBrush stylized character course might be a good way to get into like the anatomy and the project thing, because we go through the whole like process and pipeline of creating a high poly character. That would probably be my advice. If you already know the tools, well, you're in a good spot, because you're not gonna have to be dealing with like the software, which is something that a lot of people struggle with at first. But you still need to like use those tools, otherwise it's gonna be difficult, right? So let's bring the tabard, and there we go. So here, of course, we might need to just scale it up a little bit so that's on top. And all of this movements and things we can do inside of ZBrush as well. So all of this is triangulated. I have absolutely no issues with that for now. Again, later on inside of ZBrush, we're gonna do some adjustments. But the important thing right now is that we can add the color to the character itself. Let's make it a little bit darker so that we can separate it from the other one. There we go. And that's it. So this right now, my friends, it's been what, 2 hours probably, almost 2 hours of process so far. This, oh, actually, we're missing something. We're missing the big belt buckle. Right here, it's got a very similar proportion. It's not as deep. See this thing right here? See how it kind of like pushes forward? Like that. There's a little bit of a shadow. See how that thing is projecting a shadow on this like belt buckle right here? A little bit bigger. Okay, so this belt buckle has like the corners are beveled. Bevel. And again, like a negative depth. So like push this out, and then this one has a little bit of a taper. See it right there. Way bigger. It touches, as you can see, it touches the upper section. All of those things are, again, the details and elements that we need to look at, make sure that we're like getting as close as possible to the result. And this one, I still see, like, look at the distance that we have right there. It's way too much in my opinion. But hey, if that's how the concept looks, then we'll just obey the concept pretty much. These corners on this front part are also beveled. Negative depth. You can see the little change right there. And all of these bevels that are a little bit more tricky to get inside of ZBrush, I'm adding it already here. Again, to get the result. Now, for instance, this like border right here that kind of like pushes out, kind of like an extrusion. That one I know I can get easily inside of ZBrush. Same for this like big mass right here. I know a lot of these angles and things like that. We can work them out in ZBrush. For instance, here I'm gonna give me a little bit of a helping hand, and I'm going to already sort of like bevel this one. So when we do number 3, that one's already a little bit of a straight line right there. Maybe even this one, just so we get like an interesting base. Now you can see that here my curvature is like an S curve, and here's more like a C curve. So that tells me that I need to push this guys up. Of course, this one's as well. Get more of a falling curve. And of course, this is going to be mirrored world X positive. So we have both of the same thing on both sides. Let's assign a new material here. Actually, the stone material. There we go. Cool. So yeah, this is, my friends, let's say real quick, this is again the basic construction of a character. And here's the cool thing, like if I just zoom out like at this distance, it already looks quite similar. I think mine is a little bit on the sort of like this one looks a little bit wider. I feel like this is a little bit too big, so I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller. But then what I can do here is just grab everything and just Control G, raise transformation, center pivot, all that stuff, and I'm just gonna make him a little bit wider here. So I definitely feel like he's a little bit wider. And these are the kind of stuff that we can change here. Now, I want to show you something. Let's go to Epic Games. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna grab everything here. I'm just gonna say File. Oh, let's triangulate everything for now. Actually, I always like to keep a copy. So let's Control D, height 1, and all of this I'm just gonna say Mesh and triangulate to avoid having any angles and stuff like that. There we go. And now with all of this selected, I'm gonna say File, Export Selection. I'm gonna call this Chronos Test FBX. Very important that we export in FBX. And now here in Epic, you open this one right here. Oh wait, to convert. We don't have another one. Let's do this one. Gonna convert it, but whatever. I recently got an Asus. I haven't had any issues so far. I'm currently working with 50+ million polygons, and it's super smooth, so I definitely recommend. Yes. I was following your ZBrush course on the cheetah skull, but I struggle with proportions using 2D image. Once I loaded your model, I got a better grasp and achieved what the result one. Do you? Yes, dude. Alan, if you haven't seen the video that I released this week, go for it. Go for that one. I explained the 5 layers, which are the things that you look on in a 2D image to be able to transfer that into your 3D work. Has working in 3D caused you to relocate many times? Is relocating a lot something you have to accept as a 3D artist? I want to work in games, but I hate relocating. Oh, that's a big question, man. So I know, for instance, one of my best friends, his name is Mark. He's currently in Ireland, and he has moved quite a bit. He started in LA. He then went to Seattle, I think, to Washington. I'm not sure if he went to Canada, but I do know he went to Colorado, and then he went to Ireland. So he's been like traveling all over the place. And he's one of those like nomad artists. He moves quite a bit. But I have other friends. For instance, I have a friend who's in Singapore. I think it's Singapore. I'm not sure if it's Singapore or Thailand. Pretty sure it's Singapore. And he's been there like ever since he graduated. I've been here in Mexico ever since I graduated, so I haven't had to move. So your mileage may vary. I have another friend. She has gone to like Saudi Arabia and then to the Netherlands. So yeah, it depends. It depends. Maya is better than Blender for a hard surface, like for weapon, for example. I wouldn't say one is better than the other. Remember that everything can work like nicely depending on what we do, but it will change. Okay, guys, shaders are compiling. Please, 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 I never do this, but please give me just 2 or 3 minutes to go for for some water, and I'll be right back, okay? Just wait, 2 minutes. You can start asking questions, and I'll answer them in just a second. I'm back. I'm back. Sorry for that. What was that? Like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe? There we go. So let's see the questions. Can you tell me the best to what I should do to get into CGI? I just told you, man, Jashik. If you want to do BFX, Houdini is probably the way to go. That's how you learn about BFX. There's a very famous artist. Well, not, I wouldn't say famous as in famous, but she's very well known, at least in TikTok. A Mexican artist. What was her name? She's working like Avatar and things like that. She's really, really good. And she does a lot of simulations, Houdini simulations. So that one's one option. However, there's other types of BFX. For instance, there's another very famous Mexican TikToker or influencer, and he does hair. He does a lot of hair and dynamics, and he uses Maya. So it's all about, again, like you need to look for a project that's going to teach you the things that you need. So let me open a new level here. There we go. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bring in Chronos test. And this, there we go. Chronos test. Import. How to read characters Maya to Unreal Engine. You can use Character Creator, you can use AccuRig, you can use Advanced Skeleton. There's a bunch of ways to do it. Can you show us how to do tight bandages on hand in Marbles? You just need to, like, for instance, this belt right here. One of the things that you can do is you can turn on the elastic function, and the elastic function will work as an elastic, so it's gonna tighten it up. And depending on the strength of the elastic, you're gonna get a more intense elastic effect. You also get sort of like crumpling effect. You need to up the resolution, but elastic is one way to do it. Another way to do it, which is a little bit more intuitive, I would say, is the smaller the fabric. So if this fabric is not as wide as the hips itself, it's gonna look way tighter. It's gonna try to press more against the body because it's smaller. Of course, there's a like a diminishing return at one point, but that's one way to do it. Evie Langas is a super pro VFX artist. She worked in Avatar. There you go. Yeah, so my best advice for you, Yoshik, if you want to get into VFX, is to just do it. Like, just look for other people. Again, I'm not a VFX guy, so I'm not going to be able to give you the most information about that. So look for someone else, and you're going to be, like, try to look for the kind of exercises or the kind of, like, softwares that they use to get there. So, yeah. So this is what I wanted to show you guys. Once you have this sort of, like, basic blocking, this is very good because you can actually... Hey, what the hell? Why do I not have... Oh, I don't have a 3-person freaking thing. I was expecting to be able to use the 3rd-person character to run around. I mean, it's not impossible, but I'm going to have to change a couple of things here. Give me 1 second. Well, first of all, I need to know if I have a 3rd-person character. I don't think I have, so... Here, 3rd-person, project... Go. Do I know Vitaly Bulgarov? Oh, you studied with Vitaly? Dude, Vitaly is a legend. He's really good at hard surface, right? Says, sir, I want to send a super chat. Oh, nice, man. Yeah. Go for it. Is it enabled? I'm not even sure if it's enabled. I know it's enabled on Twitch with bits and stuff, but I'm not sure if it's enabled on the other one. There we go. So what we need to do here is we need to go to the game mode. Where is it? Windows. World settings. There we go. Game mode, and we're gonna use game mode vase. Let's go to. Let's try PP 3rd-person game mode, and let's give it a go now. There we go. Perfect. So now we're with 3rd-person character, and now we can get a look at how the character is going to look. So even though it's not modeled, we don't have all of the details or anything, we can already get a very good idea of how this thing is going to look here inside of the engine. And when you're working in a production pipeline in a studio, this is super valuable because... we've been working on this character for like a couple of hours, right? So in just a couple of hours, I can already send this to the animation team, the rendering team, the cinematics team, and even though it's like this very weird T-pose, they can already get a very good sense of how this thing is going to look as a final product because the scale is already right, most of the proportions are already right, so they can start animating. So for instance, there's going to be an attack where the character, I don't know, grabs the little dwarf and throws him. They can already start animating that just with this basic blocking, and then later on it's just a minimal adjustment that they're gonna have to do because they have most of the stuff here. Actually says, hey Ave, are you planning to add membership to the YouTube channel? I've been thinking about it, but to be honest, I'm not sure what I could offer to make it like worth it. Like I just give away my content for free here in YouTube, so I really don't know like what else I could be doing. Thank you, Yashik. We will remember your name. Let's see. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let's start closing things, and now we can jump to the second part. What do you guys What do you guys think about this one? Do you find it interesting? Like, to me, it's always amazing to see even just the base mesh here inside of Unreal, like so fast. Like, we already have this right here. Which softwares are you using in the new environment course? We're going to be using Maya, Substance Sampler, Substance Painter, ZBrush, Unreal Engine, and SpeedTree. Those are the ones that we're going to be doing. Okay, so now that we have this, let's close this real quick. We don't need it for now. I'm going to save it just to... Let's call this test level. I'm just going to save it to have it as an option. And now we go back to ZBrush. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab everything. And again, well, that's actually, we did FBX, right? So it should be ready. So we just need to jump into ZBrush. Now, that's it. If I ever do a membership, and again, I don't really know how I would do it, but if I ever do it, I would definitely find a way to make it valuable for those who want to support us that way. But to be honest, if you guys want to support us, the best way you can do it is with the premium courses, or if you go to Gumroad, we have a bunch of free models there that I just give away, again, some like exercises and things like that. So if you want to leave a donation, that of course always helps. But yeah. Like, yeah, no, memberships are not on the tables so right now. Some people have recommended a Patreon as well. That's not really something I want to do either. So, yeah. Abe, when it comes to teaching something like sculpting, where it's inherently more about rewiring the brain of the student than just following the steps, how do you tackle that compared to more procedural skills like rigging or retopology? That's a complicated question. That's an advanced question. It's more like a teaching question than a 3D question. I'm gonna go a little bit philosophical here, but there's something called pedagogía in Spanish. I'm not sure what the proper word is in English, which is sort of like philosophy, right? Or like the techniques or the processes that you follow exactly to say what you are asking, or to get to where you're asking, which is rewiring the brain to see things in a different way. Through the years, I've been teaching for a long time now. I've been creating my own methodology, my own sort of like a philosophy, my own sort of like a process to teach these things. And I've realized that one of the ways to do it is by going from simple to complex, by teaching the tools while teaching an exercise, right? So, for instance, in my Maya class, when I'm teaching Maya at my universities, a very common exercise I teach is the Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts. And who the hell is that guy? Kingdom Hearts. There we go. So modeling the Keyblade, it's an excellent exercise for someone that's just starting 3D modeling, because I can teach about mirror, I can teach about proper topology, I can teach about bevel, I can teach about like breaking things down into simple elements. But this is something that I've discovered and again developed through the years. It's not something that I've been like learning for someone, because I don't think there's a book out there that says how to teach 3D, right? So that's more about learn how to teach, and then you can apply that to any skill that you want. So I would say that's the sort of like, again, my process. I try to find a way to create exercises and to create like homeworks and tasks that you can complete. And while I'm teaching you how to do that task, I'm teaching you again about the important concepts such as the layers that I talked about in the last video, and such as the like the tools of the software, right? Because knowing the tools is one thing, but knowing how to use the tools is another thing. So it's both of those like combinations that you really want to look for and incorporate in your work. Oh, look at that! We actually got the camera imported. See, I've never actually done that before. That's cool. I kind of like it. I don't like that I cannot rotate anywhere. Cannot zoom in, unfortunately. That's a bummer. That's pretty cool. Let's remove it. It should be where? Documents, cameras. I don't use cameras inside of Maya, to be honest. There you go. Delete. Perfect. Hey, Amy, today's live is wonderful. Could there be a possibility of having a video later showing the 3D mesh parts to send to Marmoset? I don't usually use zero mesh to send to Marmoset. I just decimate alchemy if I just want to have like a quick render. To be honest, like Marmoset can handle like a big amount of topology, so yeah. Okay, let's focus on this thing right here. I think that's of course one of the big parts, and we only have 1 more hour, so I want to focus on this one right here. So let's isolate them or isolate this piece. And what I'm going to do here is, of course, I'm going to dynamesh. But if I dynamesh, we're going to lose a lot of like things right there. So we definitely need to increase the resolution quite a bit. And I'm just going to hit dynamesh. That should give us a good level. It should keep most of the, again, most of the elements. I might even turn on polish. I don't use it always, but in this case, I think it might work. And now we can just start like working. So the first big piece or the first big thing about this element, as you can see, it's this sort of like extrusion that it has. And as I mentioned before, I think the easiest way to do it is going to be with just like a mask here inside of ZBrush. So we're just going to mask this thing. As you can see, it has like an angle right there. Then it goes in this direction. And we're just going to like complete that right there. Not like super convinced about the distance here. It just looks weird, but that's what the concept says. So we're gonna smooth this out right there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to a front view. I'm gonna remove all of the mask here on this sort of like front side, so that we only have this side masked. Oh, yeah, that's fine. So as you can see here, I don't have symmetry enabled. I'm gonna show you a trick, very, very simple trick. So don't worry too much about it. Here, I just need to polish the mask a little bit more. And I want to add a curve right there. I'm gonna clean it there with like a straight line. There we go. So I'm gonna invert the mask all this on this side right here, and then with W, I'm just gonna push this out, and that's gonna give me the border that we're looking for right there. See that? That's what we want. So it's way easier to create this border here inside of ZBrush than it is to do it inside of Maya, because inside of Maya I would need to create like a whole bunch of things. Now that I have that, I'm gonna dynamesh real quick, and since we have polish enabled, you can see that we get like a very nice clean polished edge along the whole thing. And now, since again this is dynamesh, I can just mirror and weld. So now I have both sides of the same element. And now it's a matter of polishing a little bit more. So for instance here, you can see that we lost a little bit of that very nice sort of like bevel that we have. Let me save real quick, because we're gonna start using clip brushes, and this is definitely gonna be it could crash. So this is pretty much just like a circular effect. So we can go to the options here inside of ZBrush, and I'm gonna use my knife circle, and as you can see, that can very quickly delete the area, and we get like a perfect trim pretty much across the whole thing. So not bad, right? Sort of one of the little tricks. Now here I can see like another sort of like straight bevel. Then I'm gonna go knife curve, and I kind of like to see it like this. It's that bevel right there, that sort of like shadow. And that's a little bit too steep. So I'm gonna go like that. I think that's a little bit too shallow. So it's probably like a 45-degree. There we go. That's way, way better. And it even has like a little bit of a curve down here. So I'm gonna start here and then double tap, or sorry, start here and then just tap once, and that's gonna give me like that nice little cut. These are the kind of tools that you need ZBrush for. If you try to do this inside of Maya, it's not gonna work. These are the type of tools that you might not have available inside of other softwares like Blender. That's why, again, in this case, ZBrush in particular wins a little bit more. Now there's this thing right here. Again, like a curvature, so I kind of like it. I'm gonna see if I can cut it. It plays with the chest area, with the chest piece. Oh, it's way more. It's more like this position right here. It's a weird one. That's one of the things that I would ask the concept artist. Is like, hey, dude, what was your like intention there? Because it looks a little bit weird. But yeah, there's like an empty area right there. But then that empty area is way higher. It's weird. Like, I feel like this is looking a little bit too long. I don't know. I'm not sure if this should be pushed like up. Kind of like there. But then this piece right here should be pushed down a little bit more. Because again, lengthwise, that looks a little bit longer. There we go. I love sculpting in ZBrush, not gonna lie. Yeah, I love sculpting there too. I forgot to change to the stream tablet. Sorry about that. There we go. Sir, why is Marmoset is mostly used for weapon renders? Because it's very easy to do it. How did the image plane appear in ZBrush? I'm not sure, Tadeo. I am gonna have to research that because it's the first time I see it. But there's one thing that I didn't like, which was the fact that I could not rotate on this area right here. I had to go to the borders. So it is sort of like considering it like an object. I don't usually like it. But it was over here on document, and then there was like a camera in here. And it was because of the FBX. So I exported something FBX related. Okay. So let's start smoothing this to clean the stone effect. And now, my favorite brush of all times, Trim Dynamic. Now this is going to be asymmetrical. You can see that the details of the character are asymmetrical. And I'm going to start looking at the concept, of course. Definitely need to increase the resolution a little bit more. And I'm going to start trying to match some of like the damage that we say there on the concept. And welcome to Dale. Glad to see you here, my friend. We have some Smash sessions pending. Tadeo here was one of my first students. I've mentioned that before. And he's one of my close friends here on the city. How to identify that which template is better for what type of asset in Substance Painter? I usually don't use templates. I just like do everything. Like I sculpt everything, or I add the textures to everything. I don't use templates. Because if you use templates, you're limited to what the template can give you. And therefore, you don't have a lot of control over it. I'm gonna get rid of polish now. And we're good now. And with clay buildup, I'm gonna start adding a little bit more damage in certain areas. This is now the detailing part of the HighPoly, right? Now, as I mentioned, we're not gonna be able to finish because this is a full character. I thought I was gonna be able to move a little faster, but I was having fun, so I apologize for that. But this is what now we need to do for pretty much every single part of the character. We need to go to every single like little asset thing and sculpt it. This is the fun part. Well, some people really like this part, others like the initial parts a little bit more. I really like the initial parts, to be honest, like the blocking of things. But this is a fun process as well. And what we want to do here is we want to break up that border so that the stone doesn't look like perfectly angular, right? So stone is very frail. Well, it's very strong, of course, but especially when you have like a 90-degree angle, it chips very easily. So that's what we're changing right here. Oh, PBR alpha blend. Yeah, PBR. Just the basic PBR is usually the one to use. Priyanshu. I've never gone to India. I've gone to a couple of parts in Europe. I've gone to several parts in the US. I've never gone to India. But I definitely want to visit. How do you handle backups for your projects with over 10 years of work? I imagine data corruption is a concern. Do you have a system for data redundancy? That's a great question. So what I tend to do is every couple of years, I'll buy a new hard drive and just transfer things there. I have Google Cloud, so I have some of the important projects in there as well. Or the Google One thing gives you like 2 terabytes. So most of the stuff is there. And one thing that I've come to realize is that you don't need to save a backup of everything. So there comes a point where space gets a little bit tricky and I'll just start deleting things. So for instance, if I did like a full render of something and it's, I don't know, like 40 gigabytes of just the frames, I'll probably just delete the frames. And if at any point I need to re-render again, like I'll have the video, of course, right? Like I'll compress all of those frames into a video that's very small, and I'll have that video and I'll save that one. But if I ever need to re-render things for whatever, like a project, like a client calls and it's like, hey dude, we need you to re-render this project that you did 6 years ago, I'm gonna charge them. I'm gonna be, yeah, sure, I have all of the master files and I can re-render. I could even like adjust a couple of things and make it look better, but it's gonna be a little bit more expensive, right? But yeah, like it's important to have backup. So I have multiple hard drives, multiple external hard drives, again, Google Drive, things like that. A sculpture party, oh, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think about like events that I could do here in the cities. I know not all of you guys are gonna be able to attend. We should be doing something soon. Maybe for the party on at the end of the month. We could do like a Zoom call and everyone who wants to join can be there. I don't know. We'll figure something out. There's a brush that I really like. It's a little bit hidden. It's in brushes. And then mallet. It's called the Mallet Fast. Is it? Mallet Fast. That one's really good for like stone damage because it's really aggressive. That one's definitely a little bit higher. So again, I'm sort of like measuring and finding where that like cut is. It's right around here. And I still think we're a little bit on the low side of things, so I'm gonna increase the resolution even further. There we go. Jerónimo Musante, bienvenido, mi estimado. Do you speak Spanish? You got like a Spanish sounding name. Maybe you don't, but welcome, my friend. It's funny how names can give you, sometimes they can give you a good idea of where the person is from. Not always, but they're usually a good tell. A little bit of naming standard. A little bit more clean. There you go. Hey, I knew it. Argentina. Excellent. Had a student from Chile not too long ago. See, this is one of the things that I love about teaching online. You get to meet people from so many places. Screen dynamic again. Well, actually, let's do a little bit of clay buildup. This is an excellent exercise as well for like hand-painted stuff. So maybe we'll do, like, once this character is ready, maybe we'll hand-paint him. I have a collection of brushes here that's really good. It's like a marble brush collection for damage, and it has one thing that I love, which is this marble concrete detail. So it's just like little dots and little things, but it really helps sell the fact that this is a stone. I got this a long time ago. See that? Just like changing the texture a little bit really helps. Now I think on the concept, the back part, oh no, I was gonna say it looks a little bit destroyed, but no, it looks fine. I'm still gonna destroy it a little bit though. So I like to add a little bit of like high frequency detail and then erase it. And that really helps me, again, find like interesting patterns and things in the sculpture. It's a good way to, kind of like Bob Ross said, right? Like the happy little accidents. I always think about the Damien Standard brush and imagine a brush called like that in your honor. Damn. Yeah, right? Imagine the ape brush. That would be fun. What do you think about Indian 3D art? I think there's a lot of talent pretty much everywhere, guys. Like, if there's one thing that I've discovered, especially through portfolio reviews, is that there's talent freaking everywhere. Like, I've seen amazing portfolios from people in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, Europe, like everywhere. I do feel, and again, this is not only for Indian students, but a lot of students in general, people think that just having or knowing the basics is going to be more than enough. And as technology keeps improving, as people keep doing this for a long time, the quality bar just keeps rising. Like, I've mentioned this before. When I got my first job as a 3D artist, this was back in 2011, the only thing I had to do was a hammer. Like, the art test to work at that studio was a hammer. That's it. Can you model and texture a hammer based on a reference? And if you could, hey, you're in. That's all we needed. That's all they needed at that point. Nowadays, like, that's not even, like, that won't even get you, like, an interview, right? So things will, like technology improves, skills improve, the needs from the industry improve, and that's why you always need to be on top of your game. Because, what's the word? Because, yeah, it just, like, requires more and more of that. Yeah, it's looking good, right? I think we're in a good position. We need to bring this bevel back here on the back. So yeah, I'm gonna turn on symmetry. We push this thing down a little bit, like the back, or we push that a little bit higher. I think I'm gonna push this down a little bit so we can see the bevel a little bit nicer. There is a new bevel tool. I don't use it as much. Let me see if it works. No, I don't think it's gonna work. Oh, what's it called? It's the planar bevel something. This one, bevel flat. That's not bad. I prefer my trim dynamic. I know it looks a little bit rounder, but I like it a little bit more. Hey, I haven't asked because it might be a repetitive question, but how's your leg healing? Feeling? Yeah, it's definitely better. I had my appointment this week with the doctor, and everything is healing nicely. It's still healing, like it's not done yet or not finished yet. But now I'm no longer using the brace thing that I was using, and I'm beginning to like walk a little bit and support a little bit of weight on it. So yeah, it's definitely getting there. Still a couple of weeks till I can fully like walk and stuff, but yeah. Do you have a AAA character modeling course? No, Gotham, I do not. But there is one thing that I've been wanting to do, and it will be like that's one thing that, David, we definitely need to figure out relatively soon. But that's the workshop. I want to do a live workshop where we have like live meetings every week. There's videos, of course, and we work on a character. Everyone works on a different character, and we just do the full pipeline. But I do have like all of the bits, depending on the like all of the bits of the process are on the courses. So for HighPolys, there's the anatomy course, there's a stylized course. For texturing, there's a texturing course. For Retopology, there's a Retopology course. I just don't do a single one. And the reason why it's a little bit difficult for me to do a single tutorial where I teach all of the process, I've done it before. I did it when I was at Nextdude, is it becomes very, very long, and not everyone has the willpower or the actual like motivation to finish it. So if I do a tutorial that's like 60 hours long, I know that only a handful of people are actually gonna do it, and I find it unfair to be selling something that I know people are not gonna use. It just feels weird. So that's why I try to divide it into more manageable pieces. Be respectful of your time as well. But then the workshop, like the price of the workshop is definitely gonna be a little bit higher. And the idea is like, hey, if you're enrolling on the workshop, that's because you are gonna be doing the full work, right? Like you're gonna be spending all that time. Yeah, the workshop is like I already have the broad sort of like idea. It's gonna be a 3-month workshop. It's gonna be a little bit like, well, not a little bit. It's gonna be substantially more expensive than the courses because it's gonna be live. So we're gonna be talking every single week. So it's 12 sessions, And you're gonna pick a project, and the thing is, first month we focus on the full HighPoly. Second month we focus on the optimization and textures, and the third month we focus on rigging and getting it working, like actually like living and breathing inside of Unreal. We take a look at materials, shaders, presentation, all that kind of stuff. So that's the main plan. Again, so it's 3 months of hard work. It does require a good commitment. It's gonna be small groups. It's probably gonna be like 15, maybe like maximum 20 people. So it's more like a class, like an actual class. So yeah, no, there's definitely gonna be like a certification of completion, and my main like goal with that is that you get like a very key-cast portfolio piece out of that course. And since everyone's gonna be picking their own character, all of the like the results are gonna be different. So we're not all gonna be following the same concept. So yeah, again, still under construction, but hopefully I'll be able to share more information about that. One thing I'm thinking is that it might need to be 2 groups, so it's gonna be like 2 groups of 10 people each, so that we can have like a morning group. It's definitely gonna be on the weekends, like the live meeting would definitely be on the weekends because that's when I can do it, and we would probably have 1 group on the morning and 1 group on the evening, so that people from multiple time zones can join. Yeah, no, that would be that should go. That would be the point. Like, that's not a course where I teach you one specific thing. So if you don't know ZBrush, if you don't know Maya, that's not the workshop for you, because I'm not gonna be explaining the basics of the tools. I expect you to already know the things. What I want to do there is take people who have a little bit of experience and make them do a project that's gonna be like really kick-ass. It would be online. It would be online. So we would have like Zoom meetings or Discord meetings or something. And it would be with videos. So I would pre-record some of the videos. And then we would have the meeting to discuss what we saw in the videos, see the, what's the word, the feedback, check the progress, check specific tools or specific techniques that were not covered on the videos, things like that. It's like a little bit of that. Yeah, of course, X Nation. Of course, my friend. Yeah, again, that's still early on in the sort of like the planning process. It's something that I definitely want to do. It's not something that I'm gonna be able to do all the time. So it's gonna be like a sort of like special occasion sort of thing, because it definitely takes quite a bit of time from the schedule. And I don't want to stop doing courses or this live streams or things like that, and my day job and all that stuff. So. Yes, exactly. I think the name that I was thinking for it was something like portfolio workshop or something like that. And most of the stuff that I do is character related. But if someone's like, hey, I want to take that portfolio workshop and I want to do like an asset, like just a weapon, or I want to do like an environment piece or something, you're going to be welcome. It's just that the techniques that we're going to be looking at are mainly going to be focused towards characters. But yeah, it's kind of like a booster. It's like a mentorship program, but with a group, right? So instead of you being alone, it's more like a group. Yeah, it'll be again. I'm not sure if the calendar is gonna allow us to do it this year. Maybe it will, but I don't want to commit and then let you guys down. But that's something that's definitely coming. Was there a question too? I'm also interested in the animation side of the game. That do you have? No, I mean, I do have the basic knowledge, and I did a couple courses back with Nextdoor. They're actually quite good. So if you want to get them, I mean, I don't get anything from that anymore, but I think that the knowledge is good as an introduction level course. But yeah, that's a whole different side of the industry. Like, animation requires a different mindset even sometimes. See, the one thing that I don't like about animation is the fact that you have to do or see the same thing over and over and over again. So yeah. I saw you in my reels so many times. A lot of thanks to you, I was able to model a dragon. There you go, Harsh. Yeah, we've been uploading shorts and reels and TikTok and everything. So you probably have seen me around. Hopefully I'm not too annoying. Hopefully the information that I'm sharing is worth it. Okay, now what we can do here, because I think we have a good level of detail, but I do still feel like we're missing, some big cracks or some big elements. You guys know about the orb brushes, right? Like the very like stylized brushes that we can use. I should have them right here. Do I not have them? Oh, that's really weird. Ah, there we go. No, no, these are not the ones. These are another one. I mean, these are not bad, to be honest. Can add a couple of like big hits right here. It's gonna change the silhouette quite nicely. It's a little bit too deep. Just reduce the intensity. There we go. Can we see the 2D version for a second? Yes, of course, Alistair. It's this one right here. So there's not a lot of information on the damage. It's sort of like very smooth stone, to be honest. That's why I'm being very careful not to overdo it. Just breaking a couple of the borders and stuff to look for some interesting shape. It's very important. Can you see the faceting there on the bevel? It is quite important to try to get rid of that. So I'm gonna smooth it out, even if I lose a little bit of the detail. You can always bring that detail back. But once you bake, that faceting is gonna be there. So if you don't like eliminate it, it's gonna be present forever. One note I want to add. Let's say I'm in the group, but for any reason, maybe I broke my ribs or something. Can someone attend the workshop for me, or maybe give my seat to another person that I know? That's a great question. So the videos are gonna be available. Like, that's something that you can keep going. Like, if you cannot attend the live session, like a transfer, I guess we could do it. I need to check how the platform would allow me to control something like that. But yeah, the way I definitely plan to do it is you don't need to pay for the whole thing in advance. You can, and maybe you get a discount, I don't know. But if you're like, hey, I attended the first month and then I cannot attend anymore, like, you're not gonna spend like the full money. You guys know me. I never like to take advantage of stuff like that. So again, I don't know about all of these specifics, XA Nation, so don't take my word on it. But I'm definitely gonna make it so that it's something that everyone feels comfortable with. Okay, let's go with this piece right now. So we're definitely gonna Dynamesh. And this one is gonna require a little bit more form reconstruction because, as you can see, it's very triangulated. But I like it because we're gonna be able to clean up some of this shapes. For instance, here I see that this thing, there seems to be like a little bit of a heel right there. Right, and then it goes down here. What is the name of your pet? My pet, his name is Thor, like the superhero. Thor. He's a Bernese mountain dog. Very big. It's a big breed. With his carnita asada for your birthday. I would go to Monterrey just to have a taco with you. Don't know many Mexican brothers. Where are you from, Alan? Where are you from? I'm in Saltillo, by the way. I'm not in Monterrey. But yeah, that would be that would be interesting. Sarank Kun, thanks, my friend. Yeah, we're at the end of the stream. We still got like 30 minutes left. It's been good so far. Thank you. So again, see this curvature right there? So that tells me that I need to push this form up. Ah, yeah, I remember now. Reynosa, Tamaulipas. Yeah, I definitely, again, I think I mentioned this that last time, right? Alan, I want to see if I can do some sort of like workshop, maybe like a 1-day workshop or like a 2-day workshop at one of the schools in Monterrey. But I need to talk to my contacts there, to the director, and see if we can like manage a deal or something. Like, if you could attend a live workshop, Alan, what kind of topics would you like to learn about? Because you're like the target audience right now. Sorry for putting you on the spot. For the workshop, would we be able to create our own concepts? No, no, no. For that one, it's very, very important that we pick a concept. Like, I'm going to help you pick a concept, like how we found this one, like a good concept that I know it's going to be, again, useful for you and for your portfolio. And we need to follow that concept, because since it's a portfolio piece, we need to show that you can execute an idea and not just like invent things based on what you want. So that will be one of the important points of the portfolio piece, or of the workshop, that we find a good concept and then we build on top of that concept. Go. So here again, I'm focusing on the shapes, on the forms of the element, finding the vertices, the apexes. For instance, this thing right here, it touches the one on the bottom, and now we have this border, right? Very similar to how we did it on the chest area. Martin David, all good, my friend, welcome. I don't have anything to show right now, Gotham, but I will be showing something soon, I promise. It's again an environment course. How would you retopologize a laser object like a sword with straps kind of object? If you're working with a very like limited triangle budget, Sarang, I would probably just like do a watertight mesh that goes over all of the elements, hitting the high points, or sometimes ignoring the high points and just baking everything down into like a cylinder or something. But if I do have like enough geometry to work, I might go with just like doing a retopology of each individual thing. Okay, so now we're gonna again like draw here the mask. We gotta be very careful here. Now I definitely gotta be a little bit more careful on this particular mask, because we already have the thickness for everything else, so I don't want to ruin the border that we have there. And we also need to be mindful of the proper thickness that we want to capture. Go. How would you help 10 people pick 10 different concepts? Like the live streamers be longer than an hour? Yeah, like the classes will definitely be a little bit on the, what's the word? On the long, like I'm thinking about maybe 2 hours. Not sure. Again, I'm not sure about all of the details, but there will be a little bit of commitment beforehand. So we're going to have like a private Discord group, and people will be talking there. So for instance, for the concept picking, I will probably tell them, hey, grab X amount of concepts, let's take a look at them on the chat. People will help you, like other students will help you. It's like, oh, this is cool, this is not as cool. And then we will like together decide like, hey, you know what, like we did a filter, we found 3 concepts that are really good, so from those 3 concepts we'll pick this one. That will be probably like how we'll handle something like that. Okay, so here you can see that this again pattern continues on the back as well. Let's just add the border. It does have a little bit of a bevel, so I'm going to try to capture that. There we go. There we go. Big compliment. How many days of practice did it take you until you were able to create your first game ready to... Ooh, a long time, man. A long time. I've mentioned this before. I think if anyone wants to get into the industry or wants to have a chance at getting into the industry, you need to at least be learning 3D for 2 years. Like 2 years is, I would say, a good amount of time to be like, hey, I know my shit. I know how to do like the stuff that they're going to be asking me. That doesn't mean that you can't be producing cool stuff before that. Like I would say you need at least 3 to 4 months to start creating like stuff that you're like, hey, that's cool, that's good. You're in a good path. But to go from, hey, that's good, to, okay, you are ready, or you're going to be an important piece or an important asset in a production pipeline, I would say 2 years is like the least amount of time that it's going to take you to get there. Because before that, you might know the tools of the software, but you're still going to be missing a lot of important foundational things, color theory, design theory, proportions, like things that it just takes a while for them to like mature in your brain, I would say. Yes, Martin, of course. And actually, right now I think they have a sale. So I like using Huyan. They're not official sponsors, but they've sponsored us in the past. They sent me this one. So if you want like the most like simple one that you can get is this one right here, like one of the Inspiro ones. Where are they? Like you don't need a pen display. This one, like the Inspiro Giano, I think it's the most basic version. This is a good size. There's one that's even smaller. But go on the channel. Here on the YouTube channel. Oh, we got a sub. There we go. Killer Joy. Thanks for the sub, man. Thanks for the sub. Here. So, if you go... Oh, there you go. Got that handsome guy right there. I'm just kidding. So we're gonna go here. And if you look for Huyan, I did this review right here, 2024, this one. Best screen tablet for 3D and 2D artists in February 2014. So that one, I think it's really good. And it's, I would say it's on a good price right now if you want to get a pen display. There's a link down there. So yeah, again, it's a lot more pricey than just a basic tablet, but it's good. Like this is the one that I have right now. But if you don't want to go for that one, again, you can pick any of the other... sort of like a basic one, like this Frego S, Frego M, Inspiro 2M. These are the small ones, and they're very good price. Like this is probably the most affordable one, the Frego S. And look at that, 90 euros. So very, very good. It's gonna last you several years. So there you go. Yeah, like Solid Mango got one recently, the H610. All of those are good. So here I'm gonna go to the formation, and I'm gonna use an inflate. Push them out, and you might be wondering why an inflate. Well, because most of these things are in different angles, right? So it's gonna be a little bit impossible to make sure that all of the angles are right. And as long as I have the proper thickness there on the inside of the element, that's what I'm looking for. There we go. Oh, there you go. Thanks for the celebration, man. On-screen celebration. Clean the house. There you go. I don't think we have a... I don't think we have any like magic thing you are. I'm not sure if it's gonna show in just a second, but thank you, man, and welcome. How are you doing? Now we're gonna smooth this out, and we need to again trim dynamic to clean that extra border that we created there. So like the excess, right? Here's where the Damien extender is really good, because you can use it as an inverse Damien extender to like bring that like sharp edge back, and then again with trim dynamic. There we go. Now this is, and I showed this process 2 live streams ago with the Doctor Doom mask, where I might even take this back into Maya and retopologize again. Like that's something that I will sometimes do, depending on the project, because it's easier to get a clean shape that way. So I'll just sculpt the base mesh, and then retopologize to get a cleaner base mesh, and then retopologize again to get an even cleaner base mesh. And that's something that I see a lot of students struggle with. They feel like, hey, I already did my retopology once, like why should I do it again? Well, sometimes you need it to really get like that clean shape that you're looking for. So don't be afraid of doing stuff again and again and again. And if not, you can ask David. I've been helping him with one of his projects, and I just tell him, hey, that sucks. That's not looking good. Do it again. Build it again from scratch, or just like fix it because it's just not working. It's very, very common. Killer Roy says, I'm currently learning with your Blender course on Axe modeling, and it's really insane. I'm not disappointed at all. There you go, man. If you wanna do me a solid and help me out, if you fill in a review on the site, that's really cool. That really helps us. Reviews. I hate that we live in a world where reviews and things like that are super important, and all of those like metrics for the algorithm are important, but unfortunately they are. So every like, every comment, every subscription, every single interaction that you guys do here on the channel, either on Twitch or on YouTube, it really, really, really helps. Gotham says, your teaching skills are next level. Thank you, man. I'm glad you think so. Okay, this guys we're probably gonna have to push up a little bit, so otherwise they start like interacting with the chest piece. Let me bring the concept back. Orhun, yes, I do have a mentorship program, my friend. However, I already have like several students that I'm helping. So send me a message to see if I can fit you in. because otherwise I just like spend my whole day doing mentorships and I can't record more content for the channel or more courses. Hey, Sarang, that's totally fine, man. Yeah, and that's why I like doing the YouTube thing as well, because I know that not everyone can afford some of the courses. So as long as you can benefit from the content on the channel, I'm happy. And if you want to help with the like and the share, again, that's all I can ask for. Thank you. Thank you for being here. It really means a lot. So don't worry. And again, hopefully you'll be able to get the courses later on. And yeah, make sure to join the Discord as well. There's a lot of people sharing very cool things there as well. Okay, so the concept, as you can see, has this interesting pattern right here. See, this is a very like interesting shape. I still see like a hard edge right there due to the shadow, so I'm gonna add it like a changing plane right here. So I need to add more volume on this area, and it kind of like very straight. I don't know. It's weird. So I might need to sort of like elevate this a little bit, not too much, because you can see that there's an empty space right there. So we need to keep our distance, but at the same time generate some sort of plane. There we go. What do you like the most about 3D? As for pipelines, characters. Doing characters like this guy right here, it's always super fun. I really like rendering, because for a long time I always struggle quite a bit with rendering, and at one point I was like, that's it, that's enough, I need to learn how to do proper renders, like good renders. And when I learned, it's like, oh, okay, so this is how you render, and that really helped me, I would say. And to be honest, I love teaching. It's one of those things. I've talked about this before, how I didn't imagine that I was going to become a teacher. Like, it was not on my bingo card. But when I found out that I was good at it, like I'm good at teaching, and I found how much you learn from teaching and how much you help others, it's like, oh, dude, this is so cool. Okay, so here, it's a little like symbol or extra little detail, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna extract this one. I don't think I want to do it. Maybe I want to do it on the same one. Let's try doing it on the same one, and then we'll see how it looks as an extraction. Go. Goes in there. Then goes out. Again, like at an angle. My favorite aspect of 3D is the sheer possibility. Yeah, that's definitely good. Like yesterday, we had we started a new campaign. I play D&D with my brother-in-law, my brother, my friends, and we started a new campaign yesterday. And I printed a couple of props for the session. It was very fun. It took me like, it was relatively fast, I would say. So that's the shape of the element. I'm gonna again inflate it. Push it out. I'm gonna turn on polish and dynamesh. That should give me a stronger like fit. I think that actually gets really close. Now I only need to fill in a little bit of the area right here. Like this thing right here, we need to smooth it out. Just a little bit. Just fix a little bit of the geometry, because this thing is supposed to be coming out of the border, so again, it's just a matter of polishing there a little bit. As you can see, especially on this side, you can see how it just has this sort of big border, so we might need to add a little bit more of a border there and fill in this gap to really make it seem like this thing is coming from underneath. And this is where I tell you, hey, you know what, I might go in and go back to Maya to just like do a quick retopology of that area, because it might be a little bit easier. In this case, I don't think we really need to do it. I'll show you a technique here very quickly. Just fill in all of that stuff. Polish it with a little bit of train dynamic. Smooth, smooth, smooth. Clean, clean, clean. Dynamesh real quick. And now the only thing I need to do is I need to grab this section right here again. This section here again. I might need to go a little bit like further back. Like that. And just inflate a little bit more. Just a little bit, not too much. Actually, let me grab this whole border. Let's clean it over on this side. Like that. A little bit more cleanup. Bonehead Spark, welcome my friend. Did you print the dragon head? Yes, I did. Didn't you see the... Had a picture. Let me get it. Here. Let me get it. Let me get it. I need to open my WhatsApp and I don't want to get DDO X or whatever. It was a little bit bigger than what I expected, to be honest. Like, I miscalculated the size. But I made it into a fridge magnet, and it looks very cool. Let's see. Download. And downloads, save. Copy. Okay. There we go. So this is it. That's my fridge right there. So it's big. It's like it's like 8 centimeters, almost 10 centimeters big. So but it came out very, very nice. Jukrat says, "Hey Ave, love your videos. Thanks man for all the help." You are welcome, my friend. You are welcome. Where do you get the references for this type of projects? ArtStation. I look at ArtStation, but I really take a deep dive. And what I like to do when I'm looking at ArtStation is if I find a concept that I like, I go into the artist and I see if there's any other concepts. So this one right here, as I mentioned before, we found it on, his name is Alexei Kovalenko. So I found this one because, again, I was browsing stuff and I saw the Revenant stuff. And I think I saw this concept right here. I was like, "Ooh, that's cool." I was like, "There's no way I can do this in like 2 or 3 hours." Like even this one that we're doing right now, it was a little bit more ambitious than I thought. But it's like, "Oh, this is cool. Let me see if he has more stuff." And I look at his profile, and it's like I would start exploring. And I saw this one right here, and then I saw this one, and I eventually found this one right here. So it's a little bit hidden, right? But you need to take a deep dive and look for it. Okay, so now that we have this, now we inflate this a little bit. There we go. And now we dynamesh. So as you can see, now we get the actual division. And now what we need to do is just polish things. So all of this border right here that got a little bit ugly, we should start polishing. And again, as I mentioned, this is one of those assets that I might go back into Maya and retopologize with proper topology. And then bring back and keep building it. So it depends on where you want to spend your time. Do you want to spend your time cleaning all of the planes here inside of ZBrush? Or do you want to just like very quickly create like a clean topology like I did with the Doom mask a couple of weeks ago? Because see that sort of like weird wavy thing? You're going to have to spend quite a bit of time sort of like fixing it and making sure it looks a little bit nicer. And it can be done. You can use polygroups and panel loops and things like that. But again, it really depends on where you want to spend your time. There we go. So not bad, right? Not looking bad. We're getting really, really close to the concept here. It's a weird line right there. Kind of looks like a hole. You can do that with booleans as well, but in this case, I think it's just easier to draw that line. And again, just invert this. In this case, we're going to inflate, but we're going to inflate in. And dynamesh. It's gonna give us a little bit more depth right there. And again, cleanup process. Eventually, when we start like damaging the corners and things like that, we're gonna get a different effect. This session is recorded. Yes, Ahmed, this session is recorded, but remember, guys, it's not gonna be on until a couple of days later. So that's why we want to make our live streams as specials. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, so if you missed part of it, because when we stop the session in a couple of minutes, it's not going to be available until the next couple of days. Because I need to cut out the beginning of the session. I need to make sure that I'm not doing any sort of like copyright issues with music. So there's a little bit of work that I need to do. I need to change the thumbnail. So there's a little bit of everything, right? But yeah, the session will be available. I have a problem where I know what I like to see in art, but I'm never satisfied with my own work. Bonehead, welcome to the life of an artist, where you will never be satisfied with anything you do. You will always see the flaws in your work. You will always feel insufficient and like you're not part of the artistic world. But that's how we all feel, okay? Everyone, every single artist, even the top guys out there, will feel like they're not doing enough. And unfortunately, that's the curse of the artist. So, what you need to understand is that even if you don't feel like you're doing enough, people around you will be like, dude, that's fucking amazing. And you need to find comfort in that. Yes, there's always going to be things to improve. Yes, there's always going to be things to make better and to learn about. But you as an artist need to understand that we will always feel like we're not enough. It's a very unfortunate situation and a very unfortunate feeling that we suffer as artists. But I would say that's actually a good sign, because that means that you are being critical of your own work and you understand that there's things that you can improve. But yeah, that's part of our life. So welcome, welcome to the club. Welcome to the life of an artist. Have you considered hiring editors? I have, but unfortunately, we're not in a position right now where we can afford that. So there's a very interesting thing about being an entrepreneur or starting your own little business, and that is that you should never hire someone unless you can afford it, right? Because otherwise things can go bad really, really, really fast. So that's part of the beginning steps. Hopefully we keep growing, we'll get to a point where it's affordable and it makes sense financially, right, to keep the project running. So yeah, it's very, very common, guys. It's very, very common. We always feel like it's not enough. But if you want to, if you want like a quick, like little advice to feel better, if you ever feel like you're not sufficient, just show your stuff to your family, like to your mom and your dad. And most of the time they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's very cool. I'm proud of you," because most of the time they don't understand the whole process behind it, right? But again, I always find imposter syndrome as a good sign, because that means that you are being critical. Because I find, like, I've met a lot of people out there, a lot of students, a lot of like career people, that they think that they're the shit, and they're like, oh, my stuff is always good, it's always the best, it has no flaws. And I'm always suspicious about people like that. It's like, dude, you're really sure that there's no room for improvement? There's nothing that you could just like polish a little bit more? And it's dangerous. It's dangerous to be there. It's also dangerous to always be like feeling sorry for yourself and feeling depressed and things like that. You should definitely look for ways to avoid getting into that position. But it's also a sort of like a red flag when someone feels like their work is just like perfect and it cannot be improved. Like if they're not humble enough to accept that there's things that they can like improve on their stuff, that's a very, very big red flag. Oh, you do it professionally, Alan? That might be, yeah, I might be contacting you soon then. Empress Tiramisu says, hello, I just picked up learning 3D. I started running practice drills on the donut until I can navigate Blender without help. I was curious about how long it took you before you started making your own models and stuff. I'm a very impatient person, Empress, so I was always like trying to like do things. Back in the day, there was this challenge that was called the modeling challenge, and they would give you like random objects. So I remember like one random object was like, do a water tower, do a metal barrel, do a screwdriver, do a fork. and I would just try to do them. Like with the tools that I knew back in the day, I would just like be like, okay, I should be able to do a fork, and we'll try it, and it would suck. It would look horrible. It's like, okay, I don't know how to do a fork, and you're not gonna find, this is very important, you're not gonna find tutorials for everything in the internet. There might be tutorials for a lot of things, but there's always gonna be things that you're like, hey, like there's another tutorial for this specific thing. So that's where you really start applying the knowledge that you get from other tutorials, like the donut tutorial, and try to apply it and build like more interesting things. So I pretty much like try to do things as soon as I learn about them, but it was also like I know how safe it is to follow a tutorial and know that, hey, I'm gonna like get to this result. So if you want like a specific time frame, I could maybe tell you, hey, try to do or follow tutorials for like a month, like 30 days. Try to do a simple tutorial every day or every couple of days. And by that time, you should have a good grasp on the softwares so that you can try and do like more like interesting or more complicated things. Who is your inspiration in the 3D industry? I have a bunch of them, but one of them is, of course, Rafael Grassetti, Vitaly Volgarov, some of my teachers back at school, such as Alex Alvarez, what's his name, Jared Krichevsky, like Scott Spencer, Madeline Scott Spencer, she works at Weta, or was working at Weta, Alessandro Baldessaroni, who else do I really like? Glauco Longhi, of course, Eitan Sana as concept artist, I really like his stuff. There's another Italian one. Like, if I could get like the autograph from an Italian artist, one of the guys that I follow quite a bit, his name is... Oh, he did the War Machine books. Now I'm blanking out. It's another Alessandro Uderzo. Alessandro Uderzo. Concept. Is it Alessandro Uderzo? No, it's not Uderzo. What's his name? There we go. Andrea Uderzo. Andrea Uderzo. It's another very, very Italian name. So Andrea Uderzo is a digital artist. And I found him when I was very, very young. I was like 13, before I even wanted to be a 3D artist. And he was one of the main illustrators for this tabletop RPG called War Machine. And then he did some for another variation of that tabletop called Hordes. So his stuff, always loved his stuff. Look at that, 2007. Yeah, it was about that time, 2007. I was like, how old I was? Like 15 years old or something. And he's always been an amazing artist. I'm not sure what he's doing right now, like his recent stuff. I'm not sure if he's still working for what's the word, for Privateer Press. But I just like, I always found his stuff very, very cool. I'm pretty sure he is Italian. His name is very Italian, so I'm pretty sure he's Italian. But maybe he's not, I don't know. So yeah, those are some of the inspirations that I have. Thank you, so happy to have found you via the Next to channel. Yeah, the Fogling. Yeah, the Fogling was a good project that we did a couple of years ago. I'm no longer at Next to Empress, so my new stuff you're gonna find in this channel, Twitch or YouTube. You can look me up as Abe Leal 3D, and all of my courses and all that stuff is now under this new brand. So my most recent stuff is gonna be right here now. How to get motivated or stick to a single project? Jugrak, you do need to have a strong will. You do need to develop, and sometimes it's not about motivation, it's about what's the word? Oh, David always says this. Not motivation, it's commitment. It's not commitment. Oh man. I'll see if I can remember. It's not motivation. It's not consistency. It's another word. It has to do with consistency, but it's more about just like power. I'll have. It's not ambition. No. Persistence. It's similar to that. It's just hard work. It's just like you just gotta do it. You just gotta do the work. So instead of like thinking about doing the work, it's about doing the work. Yeah, it has to do with consistency. I'll find the exact word, guys. I don't remember it. dedication. Yeah, I think it's dedication. It sounds a little bit more discipline. There you go, Sudhir. Thank you. There you go. Discipline. That's the right word. Discipline. So it's not only about motivation, it's also about a discipline. Because you might not have motivation every single day. There will be like points where you will feel motivated, but discipline is what really gets you there. Like just open up ZBrush, start sculpting, do it. And there's a very famous quote, I think this was by Picasso. It's inspiration will find you while you're working. So you start working and then boom, you get inspired and just keep going. That's usually a good way, sort of like a good strategy or formula to success. Okay, here I'm just gonna do a quick sketch because we're running out of time, guys. We're at the end of our stream today. I'm just gonna get an idea of how this thing is gonna look. Yeah, like an interesting pattern right there, one on top of the other. So this is sort of like asymmetrical. And just final little tip here. Remember this one that we did with Marble Designer a couple of hours ago, or like an hour ago? Well, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go to Geometry, See Remesh, and I'm just gonna see Remesh, and boom! Now you have like quad geometry that you can very easily smooth out. And if you want to add a couple of extra like wrinkles and stuff, this is very, very easy to work with, very easy to sculpt because it's now quads. So that's how you convert a geometry. We're not gonna give a thickness just yet. It's something that we're gonna do later. But that's how you can very easily convert a geometry that you did in Substance Designer into something that we have right here. I'm not sure if we have colors. Do we have colors? No, we don't. Like here's where I would probably do some colors with what's the word, with poly paint or something, just to give myself again an idea of how this thing is gonna look. But yeah, not bad, right? Like let's very quickly go to the first Chronos. So this is how we started today. Just a very basic sort of like build for the character, and this is how we're ending today. So still things to do, anatomy, more details, more like elements from the weapons and the different armor pieces. But starting from absolutely nothing to this point right here, even going through Unreal and seeing a, what's the word, a very basic blocking with colors and everything, I think we're in a good spot, guys. I think it was a good stream. Definitely a lot of fun, and we talked a lot of stuff. So that's it. That's it, my friends. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for being part of this project. As I always tell you, it's thanks to you that we can do this as another thing in this amazing life. So thank you everyone for being in this stream. And remember, it will be available soon here on the channel. Make sure to subscribe here on YouTube to get the notification for when it goes live. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to support us, as I've mentioned before, sharing, liking, following, all that stuff really, really helps. And of course, you can check out our premium courses in our site. All of the information is going to be here in the chat. It's going to be on the channel. It's going to be on the Discord. Make sure to join the Discord as well. We got a lot of fun over there every single day. So yeah, thank you so much, my friends. I will see you back next week. Don't forget, next week we got portfolio review, okay? So next week, if you want your portfolio to be submitted, submissions are still open. You can check them out again in the Discord channel, and they will be closing probably on Monday, because otherwise we're gonna have like way too many submissions. So make sure to check our Discord channel, and yeah, that's pretty much it, my friends. Have a great weekend. Don't forget to practice, learn more 3D, and don't forget, always learning, always improving. I'll see you on the next one, guys. Bye-bye.